By time 5 o'clock.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide News at this hour, more than $1 trillion.
That's the early estimate provided by the Prime Minister of the cost of Hurricane Melissa's passage over Jamaica.
Physical damage to housing, commercial buildings, roads, electricity, water, and telecommunications infrastructure is estimated between $6 to $7 billion US.
6 months moratorium on NHT mortgages affected by Melissa.
Plus home improvement loans and special grants for other mortgagers.
Private sector groups call on the government to establish a National Relief and Reconstruction Command to streamline Hurricane Melissa relief efforts.
In news from the rest of the world, hurricane death toll rises to 43 in Haiti.
Millions vote in New York and across the U.S. in first major electoral test of Trump's second term.
In headline sports, West Indies opens tour of New Zealand with T20 international fixture in 7 hours from now.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says preliminary estimate of the damage caused by the passage of Hurricane Melissa is between $6 and $7 billion US.
We have never had a disaster of this magnitude with this economic footprint in terms of the impact. Not Gilbert, not Ivan.
You'll hear more from his statement in Parliament today.
In public opinion at 6:26, we ask the opposition leader says MPs should get $50 million each for Hurricane Melissa recovery. Do you agree? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page Nationwide News Network and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, we'll hear more from the House of Representatives.
At 7, the Jamaica Environment Trust, JET, along with 42 civil society groups and concerned individuals are calling for climate justice following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. JET's CEO Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody and freelance writer at the Caribbean Climate Justice Alliance, Emma Lewis, will join us.
At 8, it's Prescription for Life with Dr. Andre McDonald.
And at 9, it's Affairs of the Heart with Rodney Campbell.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90FM, RevoNews.ai, and on the Revo News app. It's available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Tuesday afternoon, it's Tuesday, November 4, 2025.
The hour is brought to you by the new Doritos Zinger from KFC. The delicious combination of KFC's hot and spicy Zinger and Doritos. Also available in Barbecue Zinger, limited time only. KFC Doritos Zinger, a crunch that's finger-licking good.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. More than $1 trillion, or between $6 and $7 billion US. That's the early estimate provided by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness of the cost of Hurricane Melissa's passage over Jamaica. Dr. Holness gave the estimate in the House of Representatives on Tuesday when he updated the nation on the government's response to the monstrous hurricane. The Prime Minister also announced that the fiscal rules are to be suspended. He says the country's debt to GDP ratio is expected to climb as a result of the devastation. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
With an unprecedented disaster has come $1 trillion bill. The Prime Minister delivered grim news. The damage from Hurricane Melissa could exceed $7 billion US, or in excess of 1 trillion Jamaican dollars. He also stressed that this is a very early estimate with expectations of an even higher sum.
But I wish to share very preliminary, high-level estimates only to illustrate the scale of the devastation. Based on benchmarks from comparable regional disasters, physical damage to housing, commercial buildings, roads, electricity, water, and telecommunications infrastructure is estimated between $6 to $7 billion US, equivalent to roughly 28 to 32% of last year's GDP, last fiscal year's GDP. It is, members, a major hit to our economy.
To set the figure in context, the country's current annual budget is $1.2 trillion. In order to weather the heavy burden of Melissa's passage, Dr. Holness says efforts are being made to rapidly return the country to economic productivity. However, he's still anticipating a significant fall in economic output and the knock-on effect of a reduction in potential government revenues.
We anticipate a temporary slowdown in economic activity, particularly in the most affected parishes. Agricultural output will decline in the short term as farmers replant and livestock operations recover. The tourism sector, while resilient and working swiftly to reopen, will require targeted support to restore capacity and confidence. At the same time, supply chains for food, construction materials, and consumer goods are being actively restored, though some market disruption may occur in the immediate weeks ahead. A very preliminary estimate suggests that short-term economic output could decline by 8 to 13%.
As an additional measure, the Prime Minister announced the intention to suspend the country's fiscal rules. This means Jamaica will not be shackled by concerns such as the current debt-to-GDP target.
In this regard, it will become necessary to activate the lawful provisions which allows for the temporary suspension of the fiscal rules in certain circumstances of national emergency or extraordinary economic disruption. We anticipate a rise in the debt-to-GDP ratio in the short to medium term as resources are channeled into rebuilding and resilience. Yet, Jamaica's record for disciplined fiscal management provides the credibility and space to respond decisively. The sacrifices that we have made and how this government has administered our fiscal affairs would have put us in the best position that this country has ever been to respond to a disaster.
With roughly 40% of the nation's productive centers impacted by Hurricane Melissa, Dr. Holness says the rest of the island will have to fill the gap. Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Holness has announced a 6-month moratorium to National Housing Trust NHT mortgages in the worst affected parishes. Dr. Holness says this is expected to benefit 20,000 mortgagors.
Recognizing that many families will need time to prioritize home repairs, the NHT will grant an automatic 6-month moratorium on mortgage payments for mortgagors in the worst affected parishes: St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, Trelawney, St. James, Manchester, and St. Anne. This measure will assist some 20,000 homeowners.
The Prime Minister also announced other measures to assist NHT mortgagors across Jamaica.
For all other parishes, the NHT will continue to consider individual moratorium applications for those who have lost income or face special hardships. Third, the Trust will introduce a special home improvement loan of up to $3.5 million at an interest rate of 2% available to both existing mortgagors and contributors who need to repair or rebuild their homes as a result of the. Finally, to further ease burdens, the NHT will provide a special grant of up to $500,000 to contributors to repair damage to their homes or those of immediate family members. So we have kind of extended it a little bit.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness.
And the Prime Minister says a rapid assessment of the housing stock following the hurricane's passage has been conducted.
We are now transitioning from emergency sheltering to stabilization and repair. The ministry is conducting field verification in priority communities with housing support teams working alongside the JDF, ODPEM and local authorities. As access is restored to additional communities in the West, we will complete our beneficiary verification, accelerate roofing support, and deploy building materials, tarpaulins, and rapid repair kits to ensure safety and habitation for our citizens.
Dr. Holness also gave an update on the impact of Hurricane Melissa on the country's road network.
The National Works Agency reports that 151 roads were impacted island-wide, with landslides, fallen trees, flooded corridors, covered pavements, and breakaways, rendering many communities temporarily inaccessible. At peak, 134 roads were blocked, particularly across the western parishes, most directly in the path of the storm. I'm pleased to report that through urgent mobilization of national and private resources, more than 1/3 of the affected corridors have been cleared or reopened to at least single-lane access. Priority has been given to corridors serving hospitals, airports, seaports, water treatment plants, and emergency shelters, ensuring that life-saving assistance and relief supplies can reach communities swiftly.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness, he was speaking in the House of Representatives on Tuesday.
And in the meantime, Prime Minister Holness says the government will be allocating $2 million for the trucking of water to constituencies worst affected by Hurricane Melissa.
Madam Speaker, I am pleased to inform this Honourable House and the people of Jamaica that all members of Parliament will be allocated the following sums for the trucking of water. $2 million to the following constituencies most affected by the hurricane: Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, St. Elizabeth, Manchester and Trelawney. $1.5 million to selected constituencies in the following parishes: St. Catherine, St. Andrew, Clarendon and St. Anne.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness.
3 of Jamaica's leading private sector organizations have jointly called on the government to streamline and intensify national relief efforts in response to the widespread devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa. They've also called for the formal establishment of a National Relief and Reconstruction Command reporting directly to the Cabinet. The Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, JMEA, and the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, JCC, issued the call in a joint letter to Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness on Tuesday. Dana Davy tells us more.
The presidents of the organizations, Metri Siaga of the PSOJ, Catherine Silvera of the JMEA, and Emil Leiber of the JCC, described the destruction from the Category 5 hurricane as unprecedented. They say it has exposed serious gaps in Jamaica's ability to respond to disasters of this magnitude. They warned that the current pace of recovery is not keeping up with the growing humanitarian needs. Their letter urged the government to establish centralized humanitarian safe zones across the island to provide secure shelter and coordinated care for displaced citizens. The private sector leaders also called for the formal establishment of a National Relief and Reconstruction Command reporting directly to the Cabinet. They suggested that Danville Walker or another suitably appointed individual be formally designated and empowered to lead this command. The groups say this body should be mandated to mobilize emergency spending, direct agencies and personnel, and engage international disaster relief experts to support the operation. While acknowledging the government's declaration of a national disaster area, the organizations also recommended that a state of public emergency be declared in the most severely impacted communities. They emphasized that such a declaration would not be punitive. Instead, it would be an enabling mechanism to ensure the swift restoration of order, safety, and access. To ensure transparency and collective leadership in the national recovery, the letter further proposed the formation of an Oversight and Recovery Committee within 7 days, comprising representatives from the government, opposition, private sector, and civil society. This committee, they suggested, could be modeled on the successful framework previously chaired by Senator Keith Duncan and Minister Audrey Marks, and would help to coordinate logistics, infrastructure, housing, and humanitarian support. Dana Davy for Nationwide News.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5 more news after these.
See twice the style for less at IQ Optical. Buy one pair of glasses and get your second and third pair half price. Don't miss out. Call 876-929-7732 or visit IQ Optical today, where clarity never looked sharper.
The time by IQ Optical is
5:14.
Rentokil Initial offices in Mandeville and Mobay are closed until further notice. The Kingston office is operational. Rentokil Initial empathizes with our fellow Jamaicans as we rebuild Jamaica together. The temperature brought to you by Rentokil Initial is...
It's 29 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 13 Montego Bay. Continuing the news, St. Elizabeth has recorded all 3 road fatalities reported across the island since the start of the month. This as the parish continues to deal with the hazardous road conditions left behind by Hurricane Melissa. Vice Chairman of the National Road Safety Council, Dr. Lucian Jones, says excessive speeding has been identified as the cause of death in all 3 instances.
In the midst of the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa, 3 persons have died in the last 3 days, 2 motorcyclists and a motorcar driver. How is it possible for people to be speeding in St. Elizabeth where all 3 deaths have occurred? It's beyond my comprehension. A time when the nation is so stressed about those who have suffered immeasurably. People are speeding in St. Elizabeth of all parishes.
The deceased are all males aged 25, 28, and 67. Their identities have not yet been released. Dr. Jones says the deaths now push the total number of road fatalities since the start of the year to 325.
We need to just slow down. This is a time for introspection and for thinking about your lives and not to be giving it away on the road by doing madness. So far, 325 persons have died. And if we recover in this fashion and go back to what happened in the early days of the year, we are going to exceed 400 road deaths, which is just going to add to the misery and the grief that this country has suffered during Hurricane Melissa.
Dr. Lucian Jones, Vice Chairman of the National Road Safety Council.
Water Minister Matthew Samuda says the National Water Commission, NWC, is still hard at work to restore water access to the western parishes severely affected by Hurricane Melissa. The minister provided the updates while speaking at a media briefing at the office of the Prime Minister on Monday. Mahiri Stewart has that story.
According to Minister Samuda, only 28.1% of NWC customers in St. Elizabeth have piped water. Minister Samuda says work has been done on numerous systems in the parish aimed at reconnecting areas such as Black River.
The old Pepper Well, which serves from Goshen to Santa Cruz, is running on generator. It is running in 8-hour increments, and it is serving that entire corridor. So they're getting between 16 and 20 hours of water between Goshen and Santa Cruz currently. In Luana, we would have installed a generator. They're now getting 8-hour increments of water, getting between 18 and 20 hours of water. In Darlin Toba, that's what facilitates service to the Black River Hospital. A generator is currently being installed on site, and that will restore water supply to the community and town of Black River. But more important, particularly important, is to the hospital as well as to the stations for the emergency crews.
In Westmoreland, 35.7% of customers have had their water supply restored. Minister Samuda says while the Bluefields system is back up and running, the Roaring River remains a challenge for the NWC.
Negril actually has water and has had water pretty much through the duration of the disaster. Bluefields is indeed in operation, having worked with JPS to bring that system back on. So Bluefields to White House, we can also report that they currently have water supply, certainly along the plains. The Roaring River, which serves Sav and indeed Darliston, is out. We are serving the Noel Holmes Hospital, which is also served by this system by trucking, and we're monitoring it very closely in collaboration with the Ministry of Health.
In St. James, 45.5% of customers have supply, while in Hanover, 21.8% are connected. Minister Samuda says the NWC is seeking to provide restoration to both parishes via work done on the Great River and Martha Brae water systems.
In the case of the Great River system, the intake pipes were washed away. Contractors have been on site now for some 36 hours. Their crews working 24 hours a day. We're targeting temporary restoration by Friday midnight. The Martha Brae system is actually up and can provide between 15 and 20 million gallons of water a day. However, in the vicinity of Lilliput, with the road collapsing and the sea level rise in that area, it would have displaced pipes significantly. That work would have commenced this morning and will run in 24-hour shifts. We are targeting completion by Thursday morning. That would restore water in the interim to all of St. James for at least 8 hours a day.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Haiti's government on Tuesday announced that the death toll from Hurricane Melissa has risen to 43, with 13 others still missing. Crews are still trying to reach people in the country's southwest region, where landslides and floodwaters devastated more than 30 communities. At least 25 deaths occurred in the southwestern coastal town of Petit Goave, one of the hardest hit communities. The Category 5 hurricane, one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes on record, flooded nearly 12,000 homes and destroyed nearly 200 others after its outer bands battered Haiti last week. More than 1,700 people remain in shelters. Numerous roads remain inaccessible. The government has also warned that there's a shortage of drinking water in several communities. It says it will soon distribute seeds and tools to farmers facing major agricultural losses.
Close to 1.5 million people have now voted in the New York City's mayoral election, currently ongoing. The race to lead New York City features Democratic state legislator and Democratic socialist Zoran Mamdani. He is facing former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who is running as an independent and attempting a comeback after resigning 4 years ago. Turnout for the polls has already surpassed the total votes cast in any New York City mayoral election in the past 20 years. The race has captured national attention, with President Donald Trump endorsing Cuomo and urging voters not to elect left-wing Mamdani. Other top races in Tuesday's election include the race for governor in New Jersey and Virginia. There's also a ballot measure in California that Democrats are counting on for next year's elections to determine control of Congress.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, more than $1 trillion.
That's the early estimate provided by the Prime Minister of the cost of Hurricane Melissa's passage over Jamaica.
Physical damage to housing, commercial buildings, roads, electricity, water, and telecommunications infrastructure is estimated between $6 to $7 billion.
6 months moratorium on NHT mortgages affected by Melissa.
Private sector groups call on the government to establish a National Relief and Reconstruction Command to streamline Hurricane Melissa relief efforts.
I'm Robeanne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at revonews.ai and on the Revo News app. It's available on Google Play and the App Store. News next to the headlines at 6.
This is a public service announcement from JPS. The technical support hub for the JPS Customer Care Center, located in Western Jamaica, has suffered infrastructural damage. This means customers may experience some difficulty getting through on the toll-free line. Customers can, however, make contact with the company via web chat on its website at jpsco.com, on its social media pages at MyJPSOnline, and through the MyJPS mobile app. JPS thanks you for your patience and understanding at this time. That was a public service announcement from JPS.
It's hard-hitting. It's riveting. It's the much-talked-about cover story during Nationwide at 5. Here Cliff Hughes get to the heart of the story of the day. Cover Story aired 5:30 weekdays during Nationwide at 5. Nationwide at 5. Talk radio at its best. Cover Story.
Cover Story is brought to you by JTA Credit Union, serving our members, impacting lives positively.
Multilink, roll with control. Use Multilink, safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. The West Indies will open their tour of New Zealand in 8 hours from now when they take on the Kiwis in the first game of their 3-match T20 International Series at Eden Park in Auckland. The West Indies are coming on the back of a 3-0 series sweep over Bangladesh last week, while the Kiwis, on the other hand, they lost their 3-match series against England in October. The series could be a run fest, a short border. The boundaries over at Eden Park perfectly suited for the two teams who were littered with outstanding batters. The West Indies 11 is expected to be Brandon King, Alec Athene, Shea Hope, Shafeen Rutherford, Ruston Chase, Rovman Powell, Jason Holder, Amaria Shepherd, Akil Hussain, Carapir, and Jaden Sears. The game bowls off at 1:15 a.m. tomorrow morning, Jamaica time. And Pakistan beats South Africa by 2 wickets in Faisalabad on Tuesday to take a 1-0 lead in their one-day international series. Quinton de Kock returned to the team in style. He got 63, and the debutant Lohani Dias Pretorius made 57. They were the spearhead of South Africa, were dismissed for 263 in the 50th over. Captain Matthew Britsky weighed in with 44 against Naseem Shah and Akram Ahmed, who bagged with 3 wickets apiece. Pakistan replied with 264 for 8 in 49 overs and 4 balls. Salman Ali Agar led the way with 64. Mohammad Rizwan made 55, and Fakhar Zaman made 45. Jamaica Premier League outfit Harbourview Football Club. They have a new man in charge. Vassal Reynolds is replaced Bjorn Thomas, who was sacked on Saturday. Reynolds will take over the reins of a club languishing in 12th at the minute in the 14-team Ray Nephew Premier League season. They've so far lost 4 games. They won 2 and 2 others drawn results in their 8 matches so far. They've got 12 points, and Reynolds says he's embracing the challenge over the Stars of the East.
The challenge comes with the expectation, the history of the club, and what is expected of the Harbourview Football Club, generally speaking. So that in itself is a challenge, differently from previous clubs that I would have coached.
Actually, Harbourview, they've got 8 points from the 2 wins and the 2 drawn results. And Reynolds says his job at Kingston College as head coach is not under threat. In fact, he says it's one of the reasons why he decided to take the job, because both institutions almost work hand in hand.
I'm fully committed to my role and responsibility as a teacher and as the technical director of the football program at Kingston College. That does not change. The people at Harbourview understand that situation. Both institutions would have worked very closely in the past, and that will continue. That in itself aid my decision to accept the job at the Harbourview Football Club.
That's Vassal Reynolds, new coach at Harbourview. Champions Paris Saint-Germain suffered their first defeat of the current European Champions League campaign. They were beaten 2-1 at home at the Parc des Princes on Tuesday by former champion Bayern Munich. Former Liverpool winger Luis Diaz bagged both goals for the Bavarians before the first half ended. And of course, the Joe Mendes got PSG's consolation in minute 74. The big game on the day, though, Liverpool, they beat record 15-time champions Real Madrid by 1-0 at Anfield. It was a real bruising game over there in England. The Argentine World Cup winner, Alexis McAllister, got the winner for Liverpool on minute 61.
Joined Vinicius Junior and Dean Howson in the book, and Alexis McAllister. Van Dijk with a dart. And it's headed in! This one gets past Thibaut Courtois. And it's Alexis McAllister who just met it, timed it, scored it. Liverpool 1, Real Madrid 0.
And Mikel Merino, he got 2 for Arsenal. Bukayo Saka got the other. They defeated Slavia Prague by 3-0 away. And it has extended their winning run in all competitions to 10. And it was also an 8th successive clean sheet. The first time Arsenal was doing that in 122 years. Brilliant. In other games, Tottenham Hotspur, they slammed FC Copenhagen by 4-0. And Juventus, they defeated Sporting CP by 3-0. World's number one, Irina Sabalenka, will face Nick Kyrgios in a Battle of the Sexes exhibition game in the United Arab Emirates later this year. Of course, we're talking tennis. The 27-year-old Belarusian Sabalenka and the 30-year-old Australian Kyrgios, ranked 652 in the world, is set to play each other at the Coca-Cola Arena in Dubai on December 28. Four-time Grand Slam winner Sabalenka is the reigning U.S. Open champion. Kyrgios, who reached a career-high 13 in 2016, has only played 5 games this year since returning from a serious wrist injury that kept him out for some 18 months. He has not played on the ATP Tour since losing in the Miami Open second round in March. 3 official matches labeled as the Battle of the Sexes, as it was the biggest of them all. Billie Jean King against Bobby Riggs. It took place in 1973, and the American veteran Riggs had beaten the Australian Margaret Court before King exacted revenge 4 months later. In 1992, a 40-year-old Jimmy Connors beat fellow multiple Grand Slam champion Martina Navratilova, then 35 years old, under hybrid rules. And that will do it for sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade. From Kingston to the world, from Montego Bay to new adventures, and from Ocherias to endless possibilities. Wherever you're headed, we will proudly take you there. Jamaica's airport, your global gateway. The temperature brought to you by the Airports Authority of Jamaica is
29 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's the same in the western city, Montego Bay.
Ho, ho, ho! And what would you like for Christmas?
A paint tough enough for my messy grandkids. Perfect color matching for my living room.
Paint that covers in fewer coats, A finish that stands up to sun or rain,
BH Paints has you covered. Now up to 25% off.
Be one of the first 200 monthly to register on championsofcolor.com and get a free gallon of BH New Ultimate Advanced Formula. No purchase required.
All I want for Christmas is BH Paints.
Discounts available at BH Paint stores and participating hardwares.
Doritos and KFC, cheesy, delicious, crunchy, new collaboration, run the country. Doritos Zinger, hot and spicy. Doritos nacho cheese chips, cheddar cheese sauce. We not leave it. KFC with the extra crunch. The new Doritos Zinger, I want for lunch. The new KFC Doritos Zinger, the delicious combination of KFC's hot and spicy zinger and the irresistible flavor of Doritos. Available for a limited time. KFC and Doritos, a crunch that's finger-licking good.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jackama figure dig the wall.
Our Total Tools.
Weed whacker figure trim the lawn. We have everything a job demand.
Total Tools.
We rent them, sell them and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When I say home improvement, landscape construction, a Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option.
Total Tools, located at 102 Main Street, Ocherias, 34 Slipe Road, Kingston.
And lot C6 Jacksaw, Sentence Bay. Call us today.
On Monday, November 10, tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. when LASCO, in partnership with the Jamaica Constabulary Force, proudly announces the Super 6 finalists for the 2025 Saluting Our Heroes Police of the Year Awards. Meet the Super 6, Jamaica's finest. Constable Monique Bartley, Corporal Stephen Smith, Corporal Rojeanne Holt, Detective Corporal Chadwick Williams, Constable Chantal Powell, and Detective Corporal Livy Evans. Finalists for the prestigious 2025 LASCO JCF Saluting Our Heroes Police of the Year Award. Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online as we highlight and celebrate the outstanding service, leadership, and community impact of the Super 6. So tune in to Cliff Hughes Online Monday, November 10 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Super 6 finalists for the 2025 Saluting Our Heroes Police of the Year Awards. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Lasco Chin Foundation and the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton. Weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
It's Monday, get over your blues. Or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The E-Zone is here for you. With the Stinger Honeybee
and Karim Boyatings
from 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
We've got your entertainment news.
Then we want to hear your views. Why you say?
Jump in the mix.
Or the hot seat.
Don't miss our brain busters.
Or the crazy giveaways.
Let's talk fashion.
Send us your outfit of the day. Ooh, cutesy. Very demure.
Are you looking for love?
Come on one of our blind dates. Send your request to ezoneblindates@gmail.com. That's ezoneblindates@gmail.com.
And stay tuned for your confessions.
These are my confessions. Share them with us at ezonconfessions@yahoo.com. I mean, is this planet Earth?
Is it?
I don't know. Let me check. Either way, it's got a buzz.
And a bugger thing.
Ow! Ow!
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here on this Tuesday afternoon. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Said Bernard.
Good afternoon, Said.
Good afternoon, Cliff.
Good. Well, the focus, of course, relief and recovering after Miss Melissa, Hurricane Melissa. The Prime Minister went to the Parliament this afternoon and he gave the nation a comprehensive update on the extent of the damage, the losses were suffered, and the fallout in the economy. The numbers are staggering. The Prime Minister told the country and the Parliament this afternoon that the preliminary estimate of the damage caused by Hurricane Melissa, listen to this, is between 6 and 7 billion US dollars. That translates to more than 1 trillion Jamaican dollars.
And he gave that estimate as a statement in the House of Representatives today.
Based on benchmarks from comparable regional disasters, physical damage to housing, commercial buildings, roads, electricity, water, and telecommunications infrastructure is estimated between 6 to 7 billion US dollars, equivalent to roughly 28 to 32% of last fiscal year's GDP. It is, members, a major hit to our economy. And I want the country to appreciate that we have never had a disaster of this magnitude with this economic footprint in terms of the impact. Not Gilbert, not Ivan, all of those were relatively small to our GDP. To lose 30% of your GDP is significant. So, still preliminary. I believe it is conservative based upon the damage that we have assessed, but the relevant public agencies are doing their assessment in addition to what they have to collate from the private sector. And so I would say in another few weeks we should have what the real figure is, but we can use this as a benchmark based upon what other countries would have been impacted and what we have observed and what has happened to us here in Jamaica with a Category 5 hurricane. We anticipate a temporary slowdown in economic activity, particularly in the most affected parishes. Agricultural output will decline in the short term as farmers replant and livestock operations recover. The tourism sector, while resilient and working swiftly to reopen, will require targeted support to restore capacity and confidence. Small and medium-sized enterprises, especially those in retail, manufacturing and services, and the creative industries, have sustained significant losses and will need liquidity and recovery support to rebuild inventories, repair their facilities, and restart operations. At the same time, supply chains for food, construction materials, and consumer goods are being actively restored, though some market disruption may occur in the immediate weeks ahead. A very preliminary estimate suggests that short-term economic output could decline by 8 to 13%. Madam Speaker, this means that revenues will decline as well as economic activity slows, even as expenditures must increase to finance emergency relief, recovery, and reconstruction. This will place pressure on our fiscal targets. Pressure is a euphemism. As we did during the COVID-19 pandemic, my administration will act responsibly, transparently, and with foresight to protect lives and livelihoods while preserving Jamaica's hard-won macroeconomic stability. In this regard, it will become necessary to activate the lawful provisions under Section 48C of the Financial Administration and Audit Act, which allows for the temporary suspension of the fiscal rules in certain circumstances of national emergency or extraordinary economic disruption.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. And Saeed, let's put some of these numbers in context. Yes? The bill, $1 trillion.
Right.
The current annual budget for the entire year is $1.2 trillion.
Right.
Yeah? The economic impact, fallout, 8 to 13% of output. That's a massive blow that Melissa, wrought on us in what? 8 to 10 hours.
Not to mention, Sir Cliff, the percentage GDP of value as well. 28 to 32%. Yes, that is a huge part of it.
Yeah. So it's going to put us back for some time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In the meantime, the Prime Minister says recovery from Hurricane Melissa will take place in 4 phases.
Madam Speaker, as we move forward from the initial shock of Hurricane Melissa, the government's response is being guided by a clear, structured, and disciplined framework. We are pursuing recovery through 4 overlapping phases: immediate relief, emergency relief, stabilization, and recovery, and then long-term reconstruction and rebuilding. Each phase carries distinct priorities, but all share a single purpose: protecting the lives and dignity of our people and restoring our nation with greater resilience than before. The immediate relief phase began even before the hurricane had fully passed. In those critical hours, our priority was to safeguard life and maintain essential order. Search and rescue operations were initiated in affected communities as soon as it was safe to deploy teams. Emergency shelters continued to operate at scale, ensuring food, potable water, and medical services for displaced families. Our uniformed services secured critical infrastructure, while ODPEM, municipal disaster teams, and volunteers coordinated life-saving interventions. This phase focused on urgent humanitarian needs, clearing access routes for emergency response personnel, and stabilizing high-risk areas to prevent secondary loss of life. Then we entered the emergency relief phase, the phase in which we are now. This phase includes clearing and reopening primary road corridors, accelerating the restoration of power and water systems, and expanding mobile and community-level distribution of relief supplies. We have also mobilized medical outreach to shelters and affected districts while ensuring psychosocial support for children, elderly persons, and vulnerable families. International humanitarian assistance, including airlifted supplies and technical teams, began to arrive and integrate with Jamaica's national response system during this stage. The central aim of this phase is to relieve suffering, re-establish safe access to communities, and stabilize essential services across the island. The next phase will be the stabilization and recovery phase, which focuses on helping families and businesses regain a sense of normalcy and restoring the foundations of daily life. This includes bringing schools back into operation as quickly and as safely as possible, providing targeted support to small businesses and farmers, restoring public transportation routes, and accelerating the repairs of government buildings and community facilities. Households whose homes are habitable will begin returning from shelters, while those whose properties were destroyed or severely damaged will receive temporary housing assistance and construction support. Utilities will complete permanent repairs, and municipal authorities will operationalize debris removal and rehabilitation programs. This stage is about rebuilding confidence, reestablishing livelihoods, and supporting Jamaicans as they resume work, school, and community life. Finally, Madam Speaker, the reconstruction and rebuilding phase will ensure that Jamaica emerges stronger than before. This phase will see major capital works begin to rebuild, and climate-proof critical infrastructure, including roads, bridges, water treatment plants, health facilities, and power and telecommunication network. We're going to see those being built out. Housing reconstruction will prioritize stronger building standards, improved drainage, land use guidance, and support for our formal construction systems. We will partner with the international development institutions, private sector actors, and regional allies to secure financing and technical expertise. Throughout this phase, we will apply the principle of building forward better, ensuring that public investments not only replace what was lost, but reduce risk and improve resilience against future climate-related events. This is the phase where we overcome the adversity caused by this shock and come out ahead with modernized frameworks and long-term planning for better resilience against future shocks that will be inevitable. Madam Speaker, Hurricane Melissa was not only a national tragedy, it was a warning.
A warning indeed. The Prime Minister speaking in the Parliament this afternoon, giving an update 1 week to the day after the passage of Category 5 Hurricane Melissa. Stay with us. You're going to hear the details of what the Prime Minister said. He also announced several initiatives to ease the pressure on Jamaicans. He spoke to housing needs as well as other areas of national life being impacted by the passage of Melissa. Stay with us.
Protecting your personal data is a priority for the Jamaica Customs Agency. We urge you to use the agency's official platforms to conduct your business. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
5:49.
This is a public service announcement from JPS. The technical support hub for the JPS Customer Care Center, located in Western Jamaica, has suffered infrastructural damage. This means customers may experience some difficulty getting through on the toll-free line. Customers can, however, make contact with the company via web chat on its website at jpsco.com, on its social media pages at MyJPSOnline, and through the MyJPS mobile app. JPS thanks you for your patience and understanding at this time. That was a public service announcement from JPS.
Thanks so much for staying with us inside the cover story. 10 minutes to 6 o'clock. The Prime Minister was on his feet in the Parliament this afternoon, and he sought to assure Jamaicans that there will be no politicization of relief assistance to those affected by Melissa.
There is a sense, Madam Speaker, that I've heard being bandied about that some members of Parliament were not integrated into the operations, or that there was some kind of favoritism where some constituencies got and others didn't get. Madam Speaker, let me stand here and say that there was never any intention or action on this government designed to marginalize, discriminate, isolate, alienate any member of Parliament. And we must dismiss out of hand any argument that would seek to divide this country politically when it comes to the distribution of aid. As far as I'm concerned, every Jamaican is entitled to the aid that comes in and to the spending of the government. There will be no politicization of aid. It never happened in COVID, it never happened in Beryl, and it will not happen. Madam Speaker, I can point out to you that the member from Eastern Westmoreland made his public comments. I saw them. I reached out to the leader of the opposition. I recognized your pain in what you said. I saw your public comments. I recognized the pain in what you said, and I asked the member from Southeast Clarendon, the Minister of Labour and Social Security, to reach out to you. It is only a matter of logistics why I was not able to land in Darliston or in White House. My friend, if the helicopters could have landed me there, I would have landed there, and I would have been by your side if I could find you. There was no attempt whatsoever. And the suffering of Jamaicans in your constituency, the suffering of Jamaicans in the constituency of North West St. Elizabeth is of concern. There are constituencies over here that we have not reached. Southern Trelawney, we haven't reached. Northwestern St. Elizabeth, we haven't reached. So all I'm saying, Madam Speaker, and to Jamaica, I must stand up firmly and close the door on any attempt to politicize aid in Jamaica.
He needed to have addressed that.
Had to.
Yes.
Had to. And, I want to pause here, Sir Cliff, because I liked how we addressed it.
Mm-hmm.
Gave the examples in the past. I said, I did not politicize in Beryl. But I think it adds...
Or COVID.
Or COVID. But I think it adds good context to the conversation to say, Jamaica, I am sorry, I couldn't land. That was just the reality. I couldn't land in Darliston, for example. And I called the opposition leader to say, I feel your pain. And I've asked Labour Minister to reach out to see what can be done. But more importantly, Sir Cliff, which I think has been missing from the narrative, which gives it some balanced perspective now, is that Southern Trelawney, for example.
Yes.
Right? He mentioned Northwest St. Elizabeth.
Yes. Two GLP
constituencies that have not yet been reached. Right? And so he adds that to the narrative now to give me to the conversation that, listen, it's really a logistical issue.
Yes.
It's not a matter of I don't want to or I don't plan to or we're politicizing this because the constituency belongs to a particular margin. Right. And I think it is important, Sir Cliff, as it relates to going forward and keeping the unity in the country at such a pivotal time.
Yeah. We cannot allow it to be said with any credibility that we are proceeding as a country on a partisan basis. Yeah? Every single Jamaican affected needs the help. Now, the Prime Minister also announced a number of initiatives to ease the pressure on people in this period of disruption. He said there's going to be a 6-month moratorium to National Housing Trust mortgages in the worst affected parishes. He says this is expected to benefit 20,000 mortgages.
Recognizing that many families will need time to prioritize home repairs, the NHT will grant an automatic 6-month moratorium on mortgage payments for mortgages in the worst affected parishes: St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, Trelawney, St. James, Manchester, and St. Anne. This measure will assist some 20,000 homeowners. For all other parishes, the NHT will continue to consider individual moratorium applications for those who have lost income or face special hardships. Third, the Trust will introduce a special home improvement loan of up to $3.5 million at an interest rate of 2% available to both existing mortgagors and contributors who need to repair or rebuild their homes as a result of the. Finally, to further ease burdens, the NHT will provide a special grant of up to $500,000 to contributors to repair damage to their homes for those who the NHT will provide a special grant of up to $500,000 to contributors to repair damage to their homes or those of immediate family members. So we have kind of extended it a little bit. Grants will be awarded based on demonstrated need and the level of impact. So this is an assessment-based grant.
So he says that a building support program for those in the worst affected parishes will also be pioneered.
Across the island, our first priority has been to deliver food, water, and medical support to every affected community. But we know that beyond these essentials, the greatest need is now shelter. Too many of our brothers and sisters have lost the very roofs over their heads. To address this urgent need, I am announcing a building support program for households in the most affected parishes as follows, and this will be an MP-driven program. Again, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Manchester, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney. $10 million will be allocated to each constituency in those parishes. You know, there was a debate in this House about whether or not any distribution to MPs should be done on a constituency basis equally. And I am of the view that every seat is equal. But in a disaster, that cannot hold. In a disaster, that cannot hold. In a disaster, that cannot hold. And I hope that MPs who were not as badly affected will not put pressure on me to make increased allocation. And so 10 million to the affected constituencies. Let me repeat: St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Manchester, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney. For St. Anne, Manchester, and Clarendon, $5 million will be allocated to each constituency. For St. Anne, Manchester. Oh, sorry. Oh, thank you for it. But Manchester really should be the 5. I will resolve it. No, there might very well be an error in it. But yes, no. I mean that Manchester really should be 5. But let me resolve it. I will resolve it. Forgive. There's an error obviously in the speech. I will resolve it. I will resolve it. And for the other constituencies, $3 million per constituency. I think it's a fair distribution based upon everything that we have to go through. The letters, we will send the letters out, and I will resolve the issue with Manchester.
So essentially what he said there, Saeed, the worst affected parishes, all the constituencies. In those parishes. Each of them will be getting $10 million. In the lesser affected parishes, St. Anne, Clarendon, Manchester, it will be $5 million. Yes? And the parishes not so affected, I would imagine like the corporate area constituencies,
every other constituency
would be $3 million.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think is fair.
Yes.
George and I were speaking this morning about, the opposition leader rightly saying that they need some allocation, but I just disagreed with the quantum of the allocation that was being proposed.
Million.
Right.
Yes.
So glad to see now that the Prime Minister's thought it fit to say, here's an allocation, this is the allocation, it is staggered based on the amount of damage, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And they will have that with the letters coming out soon. Yeah.
Well, the Prime Minister also spoke to the issue of governance, especially given the quantum of amounts of money involved. Yes. He spent some time outlining how they're going to manage that, to govern that. But we're out of time for the cover story. We'll tell you more about that in the nation's business. This is Nationwide at 5.
The hour was brought to you by the new Doritos Zinger from KFC. The delicious combination of KFC's hot and spicy Zinger and Doritos. Also available in Barbecue Zinger, limited time only. KFC Doritos Zinger, a crunch that's finger-licking good.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is...
6:01.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. More than $1 trillion, or between 6 and 7 billion US dollars. That's the early estimate provided by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness of the cost of Hurricane Melissa's passage over Jamaica.
But I wish to share very preliminary, high-level estimates only to illustrate the scale of the devastation. Based on benchmarks from comparable regional disasters, physical damage to housing, commercial buildings, roads, electricity, water, and telecommunications infrastructure is estimated between 6 to 7 billion US dollars, equivalent to roughly 28 to 32% of last year's GDP, last fiscal year's GDP. It is, members, a major hit to our economy.
In order to weather the heavy burden of Melissa's passage, Dr. Holness says efforts are being made to rapidly return the country to economic productivity. However, he is still anticipating a significant fall in economic output and the knock-on effect of a reduction in potential government revenues.
We anticipate a temporary slowdown in economic activity, particularly in the most affected parishes. Agricultural output will decline in the short term as farmers replant and livestock operations recover. The tourism sector, while resilient and working swiftly to reopen, will require targeted support to restore capacity and confidence. At the same time, supply chains for food, construction materials, and consumer goods are being actively restored, though some market disruption may occur in the immediate weeks ahead. A very preliminary estimate suggests that short-term economic output could decline by 8 to 13%.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Holness has announced a 6-month moratorium to National Housing Trust NHT mortgages in the worst affected parishes. Dr. Holness says this is expected to benefit 20,000 mortgages.
Recognizing that many families will need time to prioritize home repairs, the NHT will grant an automatic 6-month moratorium on mortgage payments for mortgages in the worst affected parishes: St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, Trelawney, St. James, Manchester, and St. Anne. This measure will assist some 20,000 homeowners.
The Prime Minister also announced other measures to assist NHT mortgagers across Jamaica.
For all other parishes, the NHT will continue to consider individual moratorium applications for those who have lost income or face special hardships. Third, the Trust will introduce a special home improvement loan of up to $3.5 million at an interest rate of 2% available to both existing mortgagors and contributors who need to repair or rebuild their homes as a result of the. Finally, to further ease burdens, the NHT will provide a special grant of up to $500,000 to contributors to repair damage to their homes or those of immediate family members. So we have kind of extended it a little bit.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. St. Elizabeth has recorded all 3 road fatalities reported across the island since the start of the month. This as the parish continues to deal with hazardous road conditions left behind by Hurricane Melissa. Vice Chairman of the National Road Safety Council, Dr. Lucian Jones, says excessive speeding has been identified as the cause of death in all 3 instances.
In the midst of the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa, 3 persons have died in the last 3 days, 2 motorcyclists and a motorcar driver. How is it possible for people to be speeding in St. Elizabeth, where all 3 deaths have occurred, is beyond my comprehension. A time when the nation is so stressed about those who have suffered immeasurably. People are speeding in St. Elizabeth, of all parishes.
The deceased are all males aged 25, 28, and 67. Their identities have not yet been released. Dr. Jones says the deaths now push the total number of road fatalities since the start of the year to 325.
We need to just slow down. This is a time for introspection and for thinking about your lives and not to be given it away on the road by doing madness. So far, 325 persons have died. And if we recover in this fashion and go back to what happened in the early days of the year, we are going to exceed 400 road deaths, which is just going to add to the misery and the grief that this country has suffered during Hurricane Melissa.
Dr. Lucian Jones, Vice Chairman of the National Road Safety Council. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shaloy Smichael. Sports is next.
Doritos and KFC, cheesy delicious, crunchy, new collaboration run the country. Doritos Zinger, hot and spicy. Doritos nacho cheese chips, cheddar cheese sauce. We not leave it. KFC with the extra crunch. The new Doritos Zinger, I want for lunch. The new KFC Doritos Zinger, the delicious combination of KFC's hot and spicy zinger and the irresistible flavor of Doritos. Available for a limited time. KFC and Doritos, a crunch that's finger-licking good.
How certain are you that you're taking proper care of your pets? How often do you take them to the vet? Just as we need annual checkups with our doctors, most pets need regular checkups too. Owning and caring for a family pet doesn't have to be a difficult or burdensome experience. Nationwide 90 FM has an exciting feature called Pets World that will help you take better care of your pets. Join Nationwide 90 FM every Wednesday at 6:50 a.m. during the program This Morning as we take you into the do's and don'ts of caring for your pets. That's Pets World every Wednesday at 6:50 a.m. during the program This Morning on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Track and Field's world governing body, World Athletics, has announced the names of the 12 athletes who will be vying for the male and female athletes of the year in each of the categories. The top 2 athletes in each category, track, field, and out of stadium, have been chosen from the first round of voting, which comprised votes from the World Athletics Council, World Athletics family, and a public vote on social media. A final round of voting cast by fans of the sport will now take place between November 4 and 9 to help select the overall women and men's World Athletes of the Year. Femke Bol of the Netherlands, the World 400 meters hurdles champion, and Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, the World 400 meters champion, will battle for the Female Track Athlete of the Year. On the men's side, it will be Noah Lyles, the World 200 meters champion out of the USA, and Emmanuel Wanyoni of Kenya, the 800 meters world champion. They will battle on the men's side. For the Field Athletes of the Year, Tara Davis-Woodall of the USA and Nicola Oslegers of Australia on the women's side, while Mundo Duplantis, the Swedish international superstar in the pole vault, will take on Mattia Furlani of Italy, the long jump champion in the men's category. The athletes of the year in each category, as well as the overall winners, will be revealed at a ceremony in Monaco on Sunday, November 30, as part of the World Athletics Gala 2025. The West Indies will open their tour of New Zealand in just about 6 hours from now. They'll battle the Kiwis in the first game of their 3-match T20 International Series. The match to be played at Eden Park in Auckland. It's set to bowl off at 1:15 Jamaica time tomorrow. It's 1:15 a.m. The West Indies are coming on the back of an impressive 3-0 sweep over Bangladesh in their T20 International Series. The Kiwis, on the other hand, they were swept in their series at home by England in October. The series could be a runs fest. Both teams will try to score more than 200 runs in their innings. The short boundaries at Eden Park is perfectly suited for the power hitters of both teams. The West Indies 11 is expected to be Brandon King, Alex Athanaze, Captain Shea Hope, Sherfane Rutherford, Ruston Chase, Rovman Powell, Jason Holder, Romario Shepherd, Akil Hussain, Carey Pear, and Jaden Seals. And as I mentioned, the game will bowl off, or it's expected to bowl off, at 1:15 tomorrow morning, Jamaica time. Veteran international umpire Gregory Brathwaite has called time on his international career as an umpire. Age 55, the Barbadian Brathwaite, who officiated in 8 test matches as an on-field umpire, 59 one-day internationals and 63 T20 international, said the move was carefully thought out.
Following the World Cup here in West Indies, I just thought that the time has come for me to seriously sit and have a look at where I am based on my age, etc., and whether or not the time has come to give an opportunity to somebody who's younger and may have an opportunity to excel beyond where I have been. I'm very happy with what I was able to achieve, having started a journey that I didn't plan. Umpiring was never on my radar. And when I do give that story, people are surprised.
Brathwaite, who stood as an on-field umpire in the 2017 ICC Women's World Cup final between England and India, says he's pleased with the career he's had, spanning over a decade.
To have reached the level of crossing all formats on the field, ODIs, T20s, Test match cricket, I think that in itself is a really great achievement for someone who didn't set out to umpire initially. So I've had an interesting and enjoyable career, and I think the time has come for me to utilize all of my experiences and the opportunities that have been given and invested in me now to invest in others so that they too would have an opportunity to reach their zenith wherever that may be for them.
That's Greg Brathwaite. Former Zimbabwe captain Sean Williams' international career is over after he entered a rehabilitation program to treat drug addiction. The all-rounder has made himself unavailable for national selection, and the Zimbabwe officials say they'll never pick him again. The board says it expects all contracted players to uphold the high standards of professionalism, discipline, and compliance with team protocols and anti-doping regulations. It also said it was, quote, not feasible to continue his national contract when it runs out on December 31. The 39-year-old Williams has scored over 9,000 runs and taken more than 150 wickets across all 3 formats of the game for his national team. He pulled out of the T20 side before a World Cup qualifier. That's an African qualifier in series in Harare in September. And during an internal investigation into the reasons for his withdrawal, he disclosed that he had been struggling with drug addiction and has voluntarily entered the rehabilitation program. champions Paris Saint-Germain suffered their first defeat of the current European Champions League campaign. They were beaten 2-1 at home at the Parc des Princes by, of course, another former champion, Bayern Munich, in their game on Tuesday. Former Liverpool winger Luis Diaz got both goals for the Bavarians, and both of them coming in the first half. And the Paris Saint-Germain's consolation came from João Mendes in minute 74. The big game of the day at Anfield ended 1-0 in favour of Liverpool. The Argentine World Cup winger Alexis Mac Allister got Liverpool's winner just on the hour mark.
Joined Vinicius Junior and Dean Howson in the book, and Alexis Mac Allister. Van Dijk with a dart. And it's headed in. This one gets past Thibaut Courtois. And it's Alexis Mac Allister who just met it, timed it, scored it. Liverpool 1, Real Madrid 0.
Ended, Mikel Merino, the Spanish international, bagged the brace, and the England star Bukayo Saka bagged one. Arsenal, they beat Slavia Prague by 3-0 away to extend their winning run to 10 in all competitions, and it was also an 8th successive clean sheet for the Gunners. They're matching a club record set 122 years ago. In other games today, Tottenham Hotspur, they were on fire. They slammed FC Copenhagen by 4-0, and Juventus and Sporting CP played out a 1-1 draw. Former England captain and midfield star David Beckham has been knighted for his services to British football. Beckham featured for England on 115 occasions. He captained the Three Lions for 6 years during the period 2000 to 2006. Speaking on the occasion of his knighthood, Bex explained that it was pleasing to have received the honour.
It's a very proud day for us as a family today. I grew up in the East End of London in a very humble family. And this moment, my dream was always to become a professional footballer, play for my country, play for Manchester United. And everything else that has come with that has been incredible. But today, to be honoured by, the most important institutions in the world and one of the most respected institutions in the world, being an East End boy, it's a very proud day.
Yeah, Bex played in 3 World Cups for England and 2 European Championships. He's at the moment the co-owner of MLS side Inter Miami, and he says it's a bit emotional getting an award of this nature.
It's going to take some getting used to, people saying it, but no, it's just a huge honour. It's a huge honour to be here at Windsor Castle. It's a huge honour to receive this from His Majesty the King, and it's just all round a very special day for us.
Yeah, Sir David Beckham. Some basketball news. Former champions, the Denver Nuggets, they got back to winning ways as they defeated the Sacramento Kings 131-24 in the NBA up north. The Nuggets were led by Nikola Jokic, who registered 34 points, and he dished out 14 assists. Teammate Christian Braun was also helpful. He chipped in with 21 points.
Give it to Jokic. They're going to give Jokic that 15-footer if he wants it. He'll take a 17-footer. Got it! Jokic looking to set up Murray. Got a good screen there. Murray in the lane to Jokic, and Jokic off to a very hot start. Germany with a very powerful national team now. It's Wagner brothers now. Gordon wide open for 3. Got it! Now Gordon, who was so hot in that first game, he had 50, made 10 of 11 threes.
Speaking after the victory, the Serbian Jokic says that as a team, the Nuggets are trying to get better with each game they play.
I feel very comfortable in the pocket. I think not just me. I think whenever a player gets inside of the paint and he's in that area, he's really dangerous. Everybody needs to collapse. He has so many options. I like what he's trying to do.
Nikola Jokic, that's sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:19.
Doritos and KFC, cheesy delicious, crunchy. New collaboration, run the country. Doritos Zinger, hot and spicy. Doritos, nacho cheese chips, cheddar cheese sauce. We not leave it. KFC with the extra crunch. The new Doritos Zinger, I want for lunch. The new KFC Doritos Zinger, the delicious combination of KFC's hot and spicy zinger and the irresistible flavor of Doritos. Available for a limited time. KFC and Doritos, a crunch that's finger-licking good.
This is a public service announcement from JPS. The technical support hub for the JPS Customer Care Center, located in Western Jamaica, has suffered infrastructural damage. This means customers may experience some difficulty getting through on the toll-free line. Customers can, however, make contact with the company via web chat on its website at jpsco.com, on its social media pages at MyJPSOnline, and through the MyJPS mobile app. JPS thanks you for your patience and understanding at this time. That was a public service announcement from JPS.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
It's the weekend and the youth are taking over the airwaves. Yes, we are the new voices and faces of the Talk Up You radio show. The voice of the Jamaican youth right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
After a busy week of work and school, come and wine with Jamaica's #1 youth radio show.
We're bringing you entertainment, fun facts, and staying true to youth development and advocacy.
Catch the action each and every Saturday as we roll out buzzy segments. What say you?
Youth for chat.
Life skills.
Global Connect.
And Bust the Youth. That's the Talk Up Youth radio show. Saturdays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. Talk Up Youth, Miss Effie.
Talk Up Youth. Don't miss it.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening and welcome to Public Opinion here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Pleasant good evening to our folks on YouTube. We're inviting you to weigh in on today's Public Opinion. As always, this is the first pub up in the new studio. So it should be fun. Well, for me at least. First pub up in the new studio for me. Let's get into it, folks. All right, so in a press briefing not too long ago, I believe this was on Monday, actually. That's yesterday. Opposition leader Mark Golding was calling for an additional allocations to MPs to respond to the immediate needs of those who were impacted by Hurricane Melissa last week. He's suggesting that $50 million be provided to each constituency.
For the major response to the housing and shelter needs of the people, and even the food and water needs, the MPs cannot be the sole solution. We don't have the capacity to deal with housing needs on that scale. That needs a national reconstruction program with a proper governance structure attached to it and well-resourced. But certainly, if you were to give MPs even $50 million each, that would be something we would be able to make that money count for the people and the people who need it. I'm just throwing that out as a number, but it's many, many multiples of the figures that are being discussed now. And, one has to bear in mind the resource capacity of the country as well. And the government is in the best position to assess what that is.
He says the government must also simplify the process of procurement to allow MPs to do the work necessary to help their constituents recover.
Until that allocation is made, members of parliament are unable to respond to the needs of the people unless they happen to have some personal resources or access to dealing with it outside of the public system, and many do not have that. I would also say that the process of engaging contractors to do that kind of work should be simplified and made easy for members of parliament, especially in those areas where there's very limited connectivity and where following the normal bureaucratic processes that are required would be very challenging or impossible for members of parliament. If contractors have a TRN, whatever the allocation is, they should be invoices, and those invoices can be submitted, but the work should be able to begin.
That's opposition leader Mark Golding. He is speaking at a media briefing on Monday. So in Public Opinion today, we ask you, the opposition leader says MPs should get around $50 million each for Hurricane Melissa recovery. Do you agree? Let's check the comments. We're going to start on Instagram. Someone says, hell no. The monies should be spent through the ministries and agencies. Furthermore, why would the opposition leader or even the prime minister need 50 million for their constituency when they weren't as damaged? I'm yet to see reports of some constituencies getting any major damage. Will Ryan Wilson says every well-thinking Jamaican would agree with Mark Golding's proposal. The problem for many is that the proposal is coming from the opposition, therefore, quote-unquote, it can't be good. Shamar2597 says, I beg to disagree with this suggestion. I do believe that more funding should be made available to the parishes that have been severely affected by the hurricane, such as St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, sections of St. Anne. No MP should be allowed to handle cash, but instead more funding should be provided to the government agencies so that more persons can receive the help they badly need. The Marsha B says, no, MPs must work with the different agencies that are put in place. Accountability is critical, especially with the many international aids. We must do the right thing the right way. All right, someone says 28 MPs times $50 million is $1.4 billion. Does it look like $40 million needs to be spent in Mark Golding or Angela Brownburke's constituency? That was their allocation last year. Where was it spent, rather? All right, what do we have here? Brantford Construction says not all of them, only the constituencies that were hit badly. Okay. Sleuther says as long as people receiving help, and most of the citizens needed help long before this. All right, someone else says, Alex says, all this money, we have no idea where any of this money is going. Tyrone Lewis says, no money for MPs. Blue Rain says, no, in my opinion, after access is made, material should be provided to build back houses and small businesses that were lost. What else do we have here? Someone else says no. Someone else says no. Kimmy Richards says, yes, I agree. Gulf Hawk says no. Summers says 100 million each for Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, St. Elizabeth, 75 million for Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Anne, 20 million for the rest. Should come to approximately the same total as Mark Golding's proposal. Funds to be accounted for in the same manner as the Constituency Development Fund. Okay. Valencia says no. Without adequate assessment and planning, much needed monetary resources can easily be wasted. And absolutely not, says Donnet Edwards. Hotter Fire Promotion says no. At this moment, only affected constituencies must get the help that is well needed. So that's what we have so far on Instagram. But if we check over on Facebook, will we see something different or will we see a little of the same? Let's take a look. So over on Facebook, when you ask the same question, the folks have said this. If we look at the first comment, it comes from, give me a second, it's taking a while to load. Here we are. So the organs of government are in good health. Let's deploy them and give them the space to carry out their respective functions, says Carlington Bartley. What do we have here? Not at all, says Arlene Kelly. What else do we have here? Paul Bennett says, we are in the middle of a serious crisis which calls for leadership with a cool head, steady hands, and strategic, quick decision-making while under extreme pressure. The Prime Minister and government ministers are doing that. Those who are not tasked to lead at this time might better impact the process by adapting an approach that is non-combative, panic-jerking, or seemingly divisive. All right, what it says. George Elliott says, why would the opposition leader now want to duplicate the plans that the government has structured and is implementing? What do we have here? This one's kind of long. I don't think I have time for this one. Why should I agree, says Errol Thomas. I'm not in a position to evaluate the suggestion, says Paris George. All right. What else we got here? Not one penny, says Jermaine Donovan. The people should be given grants from the Ministry of Finance to help rebuild. It must not be at the discretion of MPs. Okay. All right. Prince Wellington says only the MPs that are in the areas that are affected, and they should all have a record of expenditure right down to the last 1 cent. All right, there we go. Michael Henry says MPs outside of Western parishes should get at least up to 50 million. Western constituency should be more. Okay. What else do we have here? No, says Dins Anderson. No, says Robert Ranger. Faith and Hope says, I say use the 50 million to buy as much single or 2-bedroom container homes and give it to the families that are homeless. No politics, no handing over of money. Give them a roof. Okay, there we go. All right, so that's what we have so far in the social media comments. But what say the YouTubers? How many of these can I read? The YouTubers tend to be, they misbehave, you know. So let me make sure I can read the correct. Someone says, Mahiri, traffic gridlock near the Hunts Bay police station. I'll take a look at that later. But thanks for making me know. All right, if the 50 million didn't include rebuilding houses, then what was it for, says Valentina. How many? Some people are saying this is unrealistic. What else do we have here? 50 million, no, not to go in their pockets. That's fair enough. No, you're not getting any 50 million. What's this? I saw prefab houses online for 3,000 USD. Maybe they would be suitable for Westmoreland and other low-income areas. Okay. All right, what do we have now, man? What do we have there? What's this? This is Mahiri. Chadwick Angus 15 says, is this the same Mark Golding who said not to politicize the relief aids in the major affected parishes? And he said, don't give politicians any role, let private sector do it. So what is he talking about? Says Novlet Smith. All right, what do we have here? Once again, no to his $50 million proposal, says Dre Views. These MPs would have a field day, says Grace Thomas. Relief should be based on damage, not equal distribution. Some parishes were not hit as badly as others, so funds should go where the needs are the greatest. Honestly, let's talk about that for a minute, because I think that's... I agree, definitely, in terms of what I'm seeing so far on public opinion. It seems the main consensus is that, yes, there should be a major allocation, but not just to every MP, but the ones in the worst affected, that being the Western Belt, the Cornwall, and some of the Middlesex parishes that were also affected. But it seems to be that though folks do back having an allocation, a big allocation for those MPs, it should be those MPs specifically, as opposed to those in the east, you know, the MPs in Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Thomas, and Portland that weren't in the direct line of fire of Hurricane Melissa. It wouldn't make the most sense, would it? It wouldn't make sense to give them the same amount of money as an MP in, say, any of the Westmoreland MPs, any of the St. Elizabeth MPs. Trelawney is another one, Hanover. It probably wouldn't make that much sense. Also, St. James is another one. If you give all of them the same money when they each have differing levels of, how do you say, things to overcome, whether it be the housing crisis in Westmoreland due to the breeze that blew down all the houses, the lack of light, lack of water, the town centers that are rubble. And you compare that to a Kingston or a St. Andrew that's pretty much unscathed, still has light, still has water, people going about and out in their business. You don't need to give a Delroy Chuck or a Julian Robinson 50 million when you could give it to an Ian Hales, a Dayton Campbell, a Floyd Green, Andrea Perkis, those persons in the West, you get me? So, but then there are people saying that it shouldn't go to the MPs at all, and that it should go to the ministries, the agencies, and they should determine how that money is distributed. So that seems to be the consensus here on public opinion. Thank you all, as always, for participating. I'm Mahiri Stewart, and now it's time for the business report. Let's go.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is...
It is 6:33. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Mahiri Stewart. The National Commercial Bank Jamaica Limited, NCB, and its partners have raised $450 million to accelerate Jamaica's recovery following the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa. The initiative was launched with a $200 million commitment from NCB. The sum was matched by contributions from some of the bank's long-standing partners and a $50 million donation from the Guardian Group. The funds will be channeled through the Building a Better Jamaica Fund administered by the NCB Foundation. NCB says the fund will prioritize food and shelter, home repairs, community infrastructure restoration, and essential aid to support livelihoods in the hardest-hit parishes. The fund was launched in 2024 after Hurricane Beryl. Then, the bank committed $150 million in matching funds and ultimately raised more than $459 million with its partners. And internationally, Chancellor Rachel Reeves has said she will make the necessary choices in the budget after the world has thrown more challenges our way. That's in the UK. In an unusual pre-budget speech in Downing Street, Reeves did not rule out a U-turn on Labour's general election manifesto pledge not to hike income tax, VAT, or national insurance. When journalists explicitly asked if the government was set to break that pledge, she did not answer directly, but said she was setting the context for the budget. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch said the speech was one long waffle bomb, which had left business leaders none the wiser. Finally, in foreign exchange, it costs 161 Jamaican dollars and 38 cents to buy $1. It costs 214 Jamaican dollars and 32 cents to buy £1 British, and it costs 115 Jamaican dollars and 20 cents to buy $1 Canadian. That's the business report. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Stay tuned for more.
Doritos and KFC, cheesy delicious, crunchy, new collaboration run the country. Doritos Zinger, hot and spicy. Doritos nacho cheese chips, cheddar cheese sauce. We not leave it. KFC with the extra crunch. The new Doritos Zinger, I want for lunch. The new KFC Doritos Zinger, the delicious combination of KFC's hot and spicy zinger and the irresistible flavor of Doritos. Available for a limited time. KFC and Doritos, a crunch that's finger-licking good.
Every school is free of unhealthy, ultra-processed products. You know, those high in salt, fats, and sugar. If only that weren't a dream. The reality is that many children have an unhealthy diet at school, and 23% of them are overweight or obese. This can lead to hypertension, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. Let's protect our children's right to health with a policy for schools that prevents unhealthy food marketing and ensures access to nutritious foods. The time is now. Let's implement the National School Nutrition Policy. A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
How certain are you that you're taking proper care of your pets? How often do you take them to the vet? Just as we need annual checkups with our doctors, most pets need regular checkups too. Owning and caring for a family pet doesn't have to be a difficult or burdensome experience. Nationwide 90 FM has an exciting feature called Pets World that will help you take better care of your pets. Join Nationwide 90 FM every Wednesday at 6:50 a.m. during the program This Morning as we take you into the do's and don'ts of caring for your pets. That's Pets World every Wednesday at 6:50 a.m. during the program This Morning on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Hi, I'm Lori Gale from Oasis, advising of a change in our program focus, November 5 to 18. We do a shift from reading the Word to living out the Word. Host Roland Gale will speak with heads of churches regarding their intervention in getting our lives back on track following Hurricane Melissa. Be sure to join Roland and his guests on Oasis beginning Wednesday, November 5, 12:55 p.m., with a repeat at 5:45 a.m. Only on Nationwide, the new revolution in media. Let's all be praying for our nation.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Marlon Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
It's Monday, get over your blues. Or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the E-Zone is here for you. With this thing of Honey Bee
and Karim Boyatings
from 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
We've got your entertainment news.
Then we want to hear your views. Why you say?
Jump in the mix.
Or the hot seat.
Don't miss our brain busters.
Or the crazy giveaways.
Let's talk fashion.
Send us your outfit of the day. Ooh, cutesy. Very demure.
Are you looking for love?
Come on one of our blind dates. Send your request to ezoneblindates@gmail.com. That's ezoneblindates@gmail.com.
And stay tuned for your confessions.
These are my confessions. Share them with us at ezoneconfessions@yahoo.com. I mean, is this planet Earth?
Is it?
I don't know. Let me check. Either way, it's got a buzz.
And a bugger thing.
Ow! Ow!
Minutes, 19 minutes going up to 7 o'clock. Thank you so much for staying with us. And we're now in the nation's business. We are continuing, however, with the House of Representatives. They sat today, still sitting, I reckon. And the Prime Minister, he says more than 1/3 of the nation's roadways were impacted during the passage of Hurricane Melissa, and that they have been cleared. He gave that update in the House of Representatives as well.
Madam Speaker, Melissa dealt a severe blow to our national road network and public infrastructure. The National Works Agency reports that 151 roads were impacted island-wide, with landslides, fallen trees, flooded corridors, covered pavements, and breakaways, rendering many communities temporarily inaccessible. At peak, 134 roads were blocked, particularly across the western parishes most directly in the path of the storm. I'm pleased to report that through urgent mobilization of national and private resources, more than 1/3 of the affected corridors have been cleared or reopened to at least single-lane access. Priority has been given to corridors serving hospitals, airports, seaports, water treatment plants, and emergency shelters, ensuring that life-saving assistance and relief supplies can reach communities swiftly. This recovery effort is a testament to the determination and discipline of our technical teams and the spirit of Jamaican partnership. The NAA has deployed 14 parish-level technical field teams supported by engineers and administrative staff and working hand in glove with the Jamaica Public Service, National Water Commission, ODPEM, and the security forces. We have also activated the full capacity of Jamaica's contracting ecosystem. Major contractors, including Our Spark project partners, Czech, and local road maintenance firms are assisting with heavy equipment. The private sector has stepped up. Bauxite companies, housing developers, and other equipment owners have volunteered machinery and operating time. I want to thank them. Community members armed with chainsaws and machetes have joined the effort, and we express our gratitude for their assistance in clearing some of our roads. This is the Jamaican spirit at work. Simultaneously, technical teams are assessing bridges, river training structures, retaining walls, coastal revetments, gully systems, including the Sandy Gully and the north and south coast gullies, and the national traffic signal network. Once access is restored across all affected communities, we will transition from emergency access to full road rehabilitation, including surface reconstruction where roads have been washed out or undermined. Restoring drivability on major corridors and designing long-term resilient solutions will form a core part of our national reconstruction plan.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister says becoming climate resilient is of utmost importance. He says the era of having a major hurricane once every 3 decades is over.
The storm's 13-foot storm surge on our western coastline and up to 30 inches of rain in the Central Highlands reveal the devastating power of a new climate reality. The era of once-in-a-generation hurricane is over. In fact, the era of being hit by a hurricane once every 30 years is over. Imagine we were hit by Beryl. Then immediately after that, a tropical storm. Almost 6 weeks of consistent rains. And then this year, then drought. And then this year to be hit by a Category 5 hurricane. So, climate science confirms that storms are now intensifying faster, moving slower, and carrying more rain than ever before, emerging from warmer oceans and testing the limits of our The combination of wind, storm surge, and rain, as we saw with Melissa, creates cascading failures of infrastructure that storm scientists call a glimpse into the Caribbean's future. At the same time, Jamaica's vulnerability is not limited to hurricanes. We are an island in a seismically active region, and our communities remain at risk of earthquakes and associated hazards such as tsunamis. The multiple hazard risk profile means that our investment in resilience must span across sectors and hazards rather than being narrowly focused. We have to mainstream resilience in everything that we do. But, Madam Speaker, nature's power does not have to determine our fate. Resilience is not beyond us. It is within our control. Regional experience from the not-too-distant past is illustrative. Consider the contrast between 2 earthquakes that occurred in 2010. In Haiti, on January 12th, a magnitude 7 earthquake occurred. And in Chile, on February 27th, a magnitude 8.8 earthquake occurred. The earthquake in Chile was more powerful, yet it resulted in fewer than 800 deaths. Whereas in Haiti, the earthquake caused over 300,000 fatalities and the near collapse of their infrastructure. What is the difference? What does it reveal? It is not simply geography or tectonic power. It is the presence or absence of resilient infrastructure, building standards, institutional preparedness, and resource capacity. That is the lesson for Jamaica. Every repaired bridge, re-roofed home, and rebuilt road must be designed for the storms of tomorrow not the storms of yesterday. Our hospitals, water systems, and power grids must be restored and upgraded to higher standards. Our coastlines strengthened through mangroves, reefs, and natural defenses, and our agriculture sector diversified and climate smart. Investing in resilience is a strategic necessity, and for a country whose GDP is closely tied to tourism, agriculture, and natural resources, a single large-scale disaster can wipe out years of progress and impose long-term fiscal and social costs. By building better now, we reduce future repair bills, shorten economic downtime, protect lives, and preserve our national development trajectory. Also, Madam Speaker, let me remind all Jamaicans that resilience is not solely the job of the government. It is a national project that requires every community member, every business, every agency, and every parish to participate. Because in a world where storms will become stronger, quicker, and more unpredictable, our greatest defense is preparedness. Madam Speaker, it is clear that Hurricane Melissa will have a profound economic impact on our country. The storm struck the heart of Jamaica's productive belt. It tore through our breadbasket parish of St. Elizabeth. It disrupted our tourism corridor, stretching from Westmoreland through to St. James and into Trelawney and St. Anne. And it inflicted heavy damage on housing, community infrastructure, commercial operations, and public utilities across multiple parishes. Thousands of households now face the loss of homes, crops, equipment, and small enterprises. This is not only a humanitarian crisis, it is a shock to livelihoods, incomes, and local economies. Madam Speaker, detailed assessments are still underway, but I wish to share very preliminary, high-level estimates only to illustrate the scale of the devastation.
The Prime Minister also says that the Office of the Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, has been reassigned to the Office of the Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, is the central agency for the government's disaster response. They work with all the critical agencies across government, the private sector, international aid agencies, and multiple governments. It is, however, clear that the response to Hurricane Melissa will require significant logistics experience. It will also require significant coordination. The Jamaica Defense Force is currently assisting with the logistics support to both ODPEM and the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, especially given the fact that many communities are situated in difficult terrain and several have been marooned. Given the nature of the response needed for the current relief effort and the coming reconstruction effort, it is important that ODPEM and the JDF have even greater levels of collaboration. As such, effective immediately, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, is reassigned to the Office of the Prime Minister to strengthen logistical collaboration with the Jamaica Defense Force. Madam Speaker, the Jamaica Defense Force is already under the Office of the Prime Minister. Madam Speaker, this move will ensure that the relief effort is well coordinated and coordinated across government. The best place to achieve that, given the nature of the crisis and the speed with which we want the recovery, is for it to be centrally positioned in the Office of the Prime Minister, which is what the Office of the Prime Minister does. It coordinates all the entities. This realignment establishes virtually a single point for emergency logistics and further tightens coordination with relief partners. This is about speed, Madam Speaker. The new arrangement will accelerate the distribution of relief supplies in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa, better serve the most affected communities, and restore normalcy as quickly as possible. Madam Speaker, from a strategic perspective, and it is important that this be said. I have just listed the level of international response and NGO response. One of the things we don't want to happen is any fumbling. So logistics and coordination is absolutely important. And what we will create, Madam Speaker, is a plug-and-play system. Government can't do it all. We are the first to recognize that. We don't have enough helicopters. We don't have enough social workers. We don't have enough engineers. We don't have enough doctors. But what we want is a coordinated system where all of the goodwill that comes, whilst we get that benefit, but we must get one other thing from that, and that is synergy. And you can only get synergy where the sum of the parts are greater than the whole, when you have coordination. And that is the one thing that this administration has been good at in the management of crises and disasters.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Mark Golding is endorsing the Prime Minister's call for new building standards. He says he's concerned about the command structure as well for the government's relief and recovery efforts.
One of the concerns I have is currently the command structure is not well understood, if there is one. And I have had to be trying to identify points of entry into the disaster response mechanisms that have been established in order to provide information, vital information, that those who are handling the response need to know in order to respond and deal with these situations quickly. And we need to have clear lines of communication into the chain of command for the different aspects of what is manifesting itself now, so that we know who to approach and how to deal with that. It cannot be ad hoc. It cannot be totally informal. It must be transparent. It must be clear what it is. And there must be accountability for how the resources which are going to be deployed are deployed, so that the people providing those resources, especially persons who are doing it out of the kindness or generosity of their heart and spirit, feel that the sacrifice they are making on behalf of the Jamaican people are sacrifices that were well worth making, and they feel that their sacrifices have been treated with the respect that is due to it, by ensuring that it is used for the desired purpose and for no other purpose. And in that governance oversight mechanism isn't clear to me at the moment, and I think it's very important that it become clear and that it be consistent with the principle of inclusion and unity that you have spoken to in your address. Prime Minister, the impact on the economy will be profound. The tourism sector has taken a heavy hit. Many hotel assets have suffered damage in various degrees of severity. Some have been very badly hit, some have been moderately hit, some have got off relatively lightly, and we're glad for that. We know that agriculture has been decimated, and this will impact the price of foods, and this will impact the availability of foods. And we need to address food security issues quickly so that our people do not suffer in this time. There will be displacement of employment. How we're going to respond to that, that remains to be seen. During COVID, funding was provided to hotels that were shut down to enable employment to continue for a period of time. I don't know whether that mechanism will be considered again, or whether there will be a massive public works program to absorb and labor and provide people with opportunities to earn something during the period of recovery. But we these things are very important, and we look forward to hearing them and even participating in their development if we're allowed to do so. Madam Speaker, equity is critical at this time. People are on edge, people are angry, people are afraid, and if they feel that the way in which the relief effort is being deployed on the ground is not consistent with the way in which it is being articulated in Parliament and elsewhere, it will cause problems. I have some concerns. I am not going to raise them here today. I'm going to speak because they're very specific issues, but I'm going to talk to the persons who I think can address them. But the point I want to make, Prime Minister, is that you have given a commitment here today that nobody should suffer any disadvantage because of anything to do with political affiliation or indeed who they are and where they are. The issue is need and the response to the need. And everybody should be treated proportionately in accordance with the extent of their need.
That's Mark Golding, the leader of the opposition. He was also speaking today in the House of Representatives. So you hear the update from the Prime Minister and the questions and the statement from the opposition leader and from members of the opposition. Their questions being posed to the Prime Minister to be answered as it relates to the relief work and the recovery work to be done in various constituencies across the island. Yeah? We'll go for the break. We'll be back with more.
The Pink Run, a corporate wellness challenge, encourages physical activity, healthy eating, and age-appropriate health checks. Remember, early detection saves lives. The time by the Ministry of Health and Wellness is...
a minute after 7 o'clock.
Hi, I'm Lloyd Gale from Oasis, advising of a change in our program focus, November 5 to 18. We do a shift from reading the Word to living out the Word. Host Roland Gale will speak with heads of churches regarding their intervention in getting our lives back on track following Hurricane Melissa. Be sure to join Roland and his guests on Oasis beginning Wednesday, November 5, 12:55 p.m. with a repeat at 5:45 a.m. only on Nationwide, the new revolution in media. Let's all be praying for our nation.
How certain are you that you're taking proper care of your pets? How often do you take them to the vet? Just as we need annual checkups with our doctors, most pets need regular checkups too. Owning and caring for a family pet doesn't have to be a difficult or burdensome experience. Nationwide 90 FM has an exciting feature called Pets World that will help you take better care of your pets. Join Nationwide 90 FM every Wednesday at 6:50 a.m. during the program This Morning as we take you into the do's and don'ts of caring for your pets. That's Pets World every Wednesday at 6:50 a.m. during the program This Morning on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Good evening once again. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide. It's 3 minutes after 7, and I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Saeed Bernard. Well, the country's civil society groups are calling for urgent climate justice following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. In a release on Tuesday, the coalition of 43 organizations warns that Melissa's devastating impact is not merely a natural disaster, but a stark consequence of global warming, fossil fuel dependence, and decades of political inaction.
They are demanding immediate government and international action to protect vulnerable communities. Shalois Michael has been reading the statement.
The coalition of 43 organizations includes the Jamaica Environment Trust, JET, Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ, National Integrity Action, and the Jamaica Beach Birthright Environmental Movement. According to the group, the Category 5 weather event was a profound manifestation of climate injustice. It says the unprecedented strength and rapid intensification of Hurricane Melissa were as a result of global warming, fossil fuel dependence, corporate greed, and political negligence. Speaking on the JFJ-produced show Let's Talk Justice on Monday, CEO of JET, Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody, says weather events like these are likely to continue unless the key environmental issues are addressed.
This kind of intense storms are likely to become more of the norm if we don't do anything about the warming of the climate. So a lot of vulnerability studies have been done. There have been studies done for Savlamar, Black River, Montego Bay. They have areas that they know would be impacted by certain types of storms, by storm surge, by flooding. And we knew that certain critical infrastructure should not have been located in the places that they were in. Whether or not anything was done about that level of exposure is unclear, but we're seeing that possibly not much had been done.
She says the country's development orders may need to be revised.
The development orders are there for a reason, to guide how we develop, where we develop. But I think we probably need to relook at these development orders to ensure that, especially in the rebuild process, that we're not putting back these same critical structures or critical facilities, especially in these vulnerable zones. Because what it means is that it affects the resilience of a community. When your police buildings are damaged, your fire is damaged, your hospitals are damaged, what it means is that your ability for the community to deal with the aftermath of a disaster becomes extremely challenging.
The coalition is calling on the government to, among other things, sign the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty, demand greater action on the 1.5 climate target, demand loss and damage financing that reaches affected communities quickly, prioritize community-led assistance, planning and rebuilding, as well as promote innovative, climate-resilient and nature-based solutions in rebuilding. Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
Thank you, Shaloy. Well, we're going to turn now to the chairman, or is it the chairman or the executive director of Jamaica Environment Trust, Teresa Rodriguez Moody. Yes. Are you there, Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody?
I'm here. Thanks for having me.
Good. We also have freelance writer blogger with the Caribbean Climate Justice Alliance, Emma Lewis. Good evening, Emma.
Good evening.
Well, first of all, let us get some definitions out of the way for all listeners and viewers. The statement says Hurricane Melissa is not just a natural disaster, but a result of climate injustice. What does that mean?
So we tend to be calling, this
shall I take
Hurricane Melissa, people have been saying, are you
climate injustice.
This is Emma, right?
No, this is Teresa.
Teresa, okay, go ahead.
Yes. When we talk about Hurricane Melissa, a lot of people have been throwing terms around. They've been saying it's a natural disaster, it's an act of God. The reality is that while it is a natural hazard, while a hurricane is a natural hazard, the kind of intensity that we witnessed and the kind of intensity of the storms that we are beginning to witness more frequently are not natural. They are man-made. And why is it an injustice? Is because it is the developed countries, the ones that are emitting the most carbon emissions from the burning of fossil fuel, that are causing these kind of impacts on the most vulnerable countries like Jamaica, like other Caribbean countries. We don't emit even half, not even 1% of the global emissions. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not responsible and we must not play our parts, but the reality is we are feeling the greatest impacts as a result of this constant burning of fossil fuel and this this slow action, this slow change, because there's a call that has been made. We need to move away from fossil fuels, and we're just at snail pace with these changes.
I have to clarify something here, though, because you say it is a man-made. Yeah, it is man-made. But some might view this man-made terminology as, they did some seed clothing, or they use a remote control, because you do know that
conspiracy theories,
some theories have been going
running.
around. So I think it prudent to give you the opportunity to clarify as it relates to why exactly are you purporting that it is man-made.
Right, because it is man that is constantly burning the fossil fuels and has the opportunity to move away from fossil fuels, but we have not. We have consistently been dragging our feet. We know that the cause of climate, let me not use climate change, let me say the climate crisis, because I think that's more urgent and is more real for what we're facing. The climate crisis is as a result primarily of the burning of fossil fuels. And we are doing that. And if we don't stop that, we've recognized that we need to stop burning fossil fuel. The fossil fuel companies know the
And by fossil fuels, we're talking oil, coal,
and
gas.
Yes. Correct. And the fossil fuel companies have known this, but they have not made the change. And actually, COP, that's the Conference of the Parties, where you're going to have starting later this week, where we hear all of these promises, or we hear this the small island developing states begging for commitment and action from the developed countries. It's usually dominated by these fossil fuel companies, unfortunately, because they don't want to change. They don't want to affect their profit line. The fact is, and this is where corporate greed comes into it, while we see people or companies benefiting, there are those of us like Jamaica, like Philippines, that is also being impacted, Haiti, Domrep, that are paying the price of that inaction.
And Emma, so we speak of climate injustice, but we also speak of climate justice in the Jamaican context. What does that mean?
In the Jamaican context, okay. Teresa was talking about, the global climate injustice, and if we take it down to the local or the regional level, Jamaica, the Caribbean, I would say climate justice and injustice is where every Jamaican has the ability to deal with climate change and the effects of climate change, and to be able to address it at the local level. For example, farmers, fishermen, homeowners, even construction workers, they're all feeling the impact of climate change. It's not an academic issue. There is the heat, there's the loss of coral reefs, there's floods, there's droughts. And if we're talking about injustice, that is what they are feeling at the local level, climate injustice. And the way that can be rectified, obviously, is what Teresa was just talking about. We need to think about our engagement with fossil fuels. We need to think about more renewable energy. We need to think about finding solutions that will make those who are feeling it the most, those vulnerable communities, and we're all vulnerable, we all feel vulnerable at the moment, to make them be able to thrive and flourish in their lives. So really, the justice part is for government to do the right thing, as you were indicating earlier in your report.
The statement today calls for the government of Jamaica to sign the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty. Yes? Why is this so significant, and what would it mean in real terms for Jamaicans?
I think I'll pass that on to Teresa to answer.
Okay, I can't hear you. Sorry. So the fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty is important because it's a global effort to manage a just transition away from fossil fuels. So the reality is that all of our infrastructure is focused. Most of our infrastructure is built around the burning of oil, coal, and gas for energy, and so you have to have a just transition. Meaning, when you look at the people who are employed, because that is important as well. So it's not a light bulb, it's not a switch that you turn off and you say, okay, we're going to be moving away to 100% renewable, moving away from fossil fuels in 100% way. There's a lot of changes that have to take place. The longer we do this, however, is the more we're going to see these the emissions rise. We have a warmer ocean, we have warmer atmosphere, and we have more of these extreme type of weather events. So it is a commitment, and it's something where they're asking for governments from around the world to sign on and ensure that there is this just transition to support dependency.
Hello, Teresa. Hello. We lost her. Emma, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Uh-huh. So I wanted to ask her as a follow-up. So Jamaica is now actively searching for oil and gas. What if we were to hit it big, like, say, Guyana has done, which is transforming their lives, their nation, their people? What should we do? Not accept it? What?
Oh, that's a difficult one, Chris.
Yes.
Very difficult. Because, it's like anybody would accept that, kind of scenario. Any country would. But I think we have to just think deeply about it. We have to probably put in, now this is very important in the case of Guyana as well, probably put in very strict environmental regulations, and there have been some issues in Guyana over this. And now, Suriname is about to go into this big time, by the way. But the regulations must be strict and they must be adhered to, and they must be monitored, in terms of the environment. Because obviously, it's even in terms of the harm that it can do to our oceans, the pollution, the noise, the marine life, and so on, is enormous, quite apart from the issue of climate change. So I think it needs to be very strictly regulated. But meanwhile, we need to press along urgently with, renewable energy, and we need to, really take that on as a program, a national program. I have solar power, by the way.
I want to ask, though,
Dr. Rodriguez,
Dr. Moody, you're back with us, yes?
Yes, I'm back.
Dr. Moody, the reality is, time and time again, we've gotten these press releases, and the civil society has lobbied government time and time again. But there is an elephant in the room. There's this big barrier. Could you tell me what is that big barrier, or what do you think the government is saying is that barrier to Jamaica, having a stronger position as it relates to fossil fuel phase out and climate action?
What is the barrier? I don't know. There's a couple barriers probably, but the reality is that it requires strong political action. I don't know. It's hard for me to look at what has happened in Jamaica. They say who feels it knows it, right? But it's hard for me to see what has happened in Jamaica and then think that we can continue along the same path and do nothing different. And so I think that I'm hoping that the elephant in the room disappears, that there is motivation to change. We cannot continue on the same path. We really, and this is why we use the word reimagine when we're talking about rebuilding, right? It requires the use of science and data, and the science is clear. The data is there. There was no surprise that these kind of storms are possible. And there's no surprise that it is possible to countries like Jamaica. The fact is we need to move away from preparing a couple of days before us. There is a possibility of a hurricane or of a storm event, to looking at long-term planning, which is called adaptation, to make sure that our communities, especially our vulnerable sections of the country, are more climate resilient. And that means that their ability to adapt and bounce back from a climate-related event, from a flood event, from a storm, from a wind event, it does require a lot. It does require a lot of finances, and this is why I think that once Jamaica becomes serious, once our government understands that storms like these could possibly happen again. Look at Hurricane Irma and Maria. They were 2 weeks apart, and they were both Category 5 storms, right? It is possible, this hurricane season, and Prof. Taylor said recently, the hurricane season is not yet over, and we have another hurricane season starting in 8 months' time. We don't know what that future would look like.
Yeah.
And so we need to plan and prepare for these things, but not with a short-term focus, with a real long-term focus. And we need to lobby for those funds from from those countries that are causing the greatest harm.
Talk to me, sorry, Sir Cliff. Well, the loss and damage financing that you speak of, because people know about CRIF, they know about the catastrophe bond drawdown. What's the difference with loss and damage financing? What does that look like?
Well, loss and damage financing is about there's something also that's called detection and attribution science. Because not everything that we see play out is related to climate change. Mm-hmm. Not every natural event that you see happening is as a result of climate change, but it is likely exacerbated by X percentage or by X times as a result by climate change. So that's important for this loss and damage, because again the question is, countries have pledged money. How do you draw down on that money? And this is important. So the loss and damage, I think the fund, the mechanism was set up. It's a matter of implementation now, right? And this is where the attribution science comes in. If we can say, and I know that Climate Studies Group is working on this actually now as we speak, if we can say that Hurricane Melissa was exacerbated by climate change by 100%, whatever, give me a big number, then that means that when we go to the table to ask for funding to adapt, to not just adapt, to fix back everything that has been broken and destroyed, and also to adapt and climate proof, then we say this is caused by you, and this is the kind of money that we need from you because it has been exacerbated. We know it is caused by climate change. It's not just a natural event.
And for you, Emma, given what we are now grappling with from the impact of Hurricane Melissa, the Prime Minister said in the Parliament this afternoon that, listen, going forward, we have some hard, tough questions to answer. And he cited the example of Black River.
Right.
Should Black River be reconstructed, be built at its present location, or otherwise, or somewhere else? How do we begin to go through that process?
Oh, gosh. I think a lot of brainstorming obviously needs to go on, and there is. I was thinking that the solutions, we have to look at solutions. There is obviously short term, which is what's going on now with the emergency response, but there's also long term, and we must think, as Teresa was just saying, we must plan and plan and plan. And the long term is what sustainability really means. We love that word, but it really means, looking to the future and making sure that things will work.
So therefore,
years and years.
Therefore, Emma and Dr. Moody, no more wooden structures along the coastline of Jamaica.
Well, I want to add here to what Emma stated. We have data and we have the science.
Yes.
We know. So how do you start? Where do you start? You look at what those studies, how many storm surge studies and vulnerability studies have been done for these communities?
How many?
They're quite
How many?
there are quite a few, and there have been agencies over the years. And I've actually, in my previous life before JET, had worked on a couple of them. And what they show is, for example, some of these critical infrastructures, for example, they should not be located in some of these zones, right? So you know, you can look at these communities and you can know that this zone is more vulnerable to storm surge, or this is more vulnerable to flooding, or this is more vulnerable to wind damage. Now you can't climate proof everything, but if you know the hazards that a community is most vulnerable to, then you're building code and the kind of things that you approve in these communities, it has to change. So basically you can't use a one-size-fits-all for everything.
Yeah.
And it's about vision, really, and a vision for building back better sustainably. I mean, it just makes sense to me.
Yeah. And finally, going into COP30 in Brazil, the Jamaican agenda. Dr. Rodriguez Moody?
Well, I'm not a part of the delegation, but I would sincerely hope that top of that agenda would be calling for loss and damage financing, that mechanism to be fully implemented, and so that we can start drawing down on that, not just as Jamaica, but, as small island developing states that are facing these issues. And big thing is to call for the end, the phase out, the global phase out of oil, coal, and gas. That is a big must.
All right. So
can I just add to
you
that?
have the last word, Emma.
I'm thinking about vision, and I would like, the government's going to the COP, to think about living in harmony with nature instead of, and creating that kind of world where we can live in harmony with nature rather than fighting against it and putting up walls and barriers.
What do you mean, Emma, by living in... Emma, what do you mean by living in harmony with nature as opposed to putting up walls and fighting with it? What do you mean?
Well, I mean that we need to recognize that we can, as we have done in the past, happily up until a certain point, that we have to not regard the environment as something that we have to, combat or control, or that we need to. It's a kind of philosophical thing, but it's not an airy-fairy thing, I don't think. We have to work with nature, and that means that, as you say, if you're building your house, don't build your house in the middle of a swampy area. Move away from that. Let the swampy area do its thing.
Let me give you another one. Given again, based on the examples, the fallout from Melissa, where we have lost thousands of roofs in Western Jamaica, mainly zinc roofs.
Yes.
So people are now saying, should we go for slab?
Yes.
Well, we learned a lot from Gilbert, so we can always learn from Melissa. So I think Hurricane Melissa must be a teaching point, and it must be a turning point. Hurricane Gilbert does not it dwarfs in comparison to Melissa. Teaching point, but a turning point. It must be a turning point for us.
Yeah. So it should be slab now, Teresa, instead of the zinc?
I think it will definitely have to be maybe of slab, or maybe the more steeper roofs instead of the hip roofs. But this is something, again, informed by the studies that have been done.
Yeah.
And straps, the hurricane straps.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Emma Lewis, freelance writer, blogger with Caribbean Climate Justice Alliance. Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody, the CEO of Jamaica Environment Trust, JET. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks so much for having us.
Pleasure. Have a nice...
Good. It's now time for the break. After the break, we're going to take your calls. A lot to talk about coming out of the Prime Minister's presentation this afternoon in the Parliament. You can call us. You know the numbers, 876-618-6730 or 630-937124. Bet you can't tell me the numbers then.
I don't know the numbers.
I'm looking at me and say, oh, you remember it? Yeah?
Literally, that's what I say. So you remember them already.
Jamaica's poverty rate has dropped from 16.7% to 8.2%. As the government's economic program begins to pay off, our country is heading towards sustained growth. We are building Jamaica. The time by the office of the Prime Minister is...
It's 29 minutes after 7.
Every school is free of unhealthy, ultra-processed products. You know, those high in salt, fats, and sugar. If only that weren't a dream. The reality is that many children have an unhealthy diet at school, and 23% of them are overweight or obese. This can lead to hypertension, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. Let's protect our children's right to health with a policy for schools that prevents unhealthy food marketing and ensures access to nutritious foods. The time is now. Let's implement the National School Nutrition Policy. A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
Hi, I'm Lloyd Gale from Oasis, advising of a change in our program focus, November 5 to 18. We do a shift from reading the Word to living out the Word. Host Roland Gale will speak with heads of churches regarding their intervention in getting our lives back on track following Hurricane Melissa. Be sure to join Roland and his guests on Oasis beginning Wednesday, November 5, 12:55 p.m., with a repeat at 5:45 a.m. only on Nationwide, the new revolution in media. Let's all be praying for our nation.
Seven 7:31. Thank you so much for staying with us. We have 30 minutes left with you, and we're gonna, talk to you, take your calls. The numbers 630-937-124 and 618-6730. Good evening, Bobby.
Good evening, Sandra. Good evening, Sir Cliff.
Well, this is Saeed, not Sanjay.
Oh, Saeed, I'm sorry.
No worries, man. No worries.
Yes.
What's up?
Boy, and Saeed, my heart is paining me this evening.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me.
I listened to Cliff's program yesterday, and I don't know why on the face of this earth, in a natural disaster, when are these people going to put away the politics in times like this? Why the PNP is behaving like this? Dear bloggers, I put away the politics. I am praying for my brothers and sisters down in the western side of the country. I have to be making contribution to send food items down there out of what I don't have. Because I'm so sorry for them. Right? And, when I hear people at the press conference saying that each MP must get $50 million. So no, that is a recipe for disaster. Because, for example, Saeed, if you are an MP, Cliff is an MP, Bobby is an MP, and all three of us get $50 million for our constituency, and when the country rebuild, gone back on their foot, and when the Integrity Commission and Auditor General is doing an investigation, Bobby only spent 30, Saeed spent 40, Cliff spent 50. And that now will be I wonder if these people thinking.
Yeah. I said that I made that point this morning. It's a scandal waiting to happen.
Exactly.
It's a scandal waiting to happen.
But, I am going to allow somebody else to talk, but I'm just appealing to both Mr. Golden, his bloggers, please, I beg you. Now is not the time to play politics. Now is the time to think of our brothers and sisters and please give a hand. Right? Okay then, and God bless you, yeah?
God bless you too, Bobby. Have a good one. Yeah? God bless you too. Yeah?
Well, it's one of those challenges we have to contend with. Yeah? In Jamaica, we're very political, you know. Yeah? Politics is always in the mix. Always in the mix. Omalu, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, Cliff.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Saeed.
Good evening, sir.
The chosen one.
How are you, say?
Chat
boat. How you doing, man?
I'm there, I'm going to chill, I'm going to take it easy, you know, one day at a time.
Oh, the storm, dude, a long time I talk to you, you know.
You know, I tell them, man, the storm, you know, it's an experience. And when we have no control over nature, we just prepare and deal with it, you know?
Yeah.
I always tell people there is two P's, and the one you prioritize the most is going to determine your destiny.
The peace are the problem. That's a good one. You have
praying
peace
and preparation.
Oh, wait, repeat that one there.
Praying and preparation.
Oh, praying and preparation.
Yeah, the one you prioritize the most going to determine your destiny or how you deal with atrocities.
Praying or preparation. But you can't do the two of them.
You can do the two of them, but you have to prioritize one.
You have to prioritize one?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to say, I can pray wholly first, prepare, and then pray after me prepare?
May always say preparation beat prayer.
Preparation beat prayer?
Yeah, man.
But then say faith without works is dead. So I understand you need to do some work, but you know, nothing wrong with seal it up with the prayer.
But always come back right down to preparation.
Alright, my boss, not say 40.
All right.
Not say 40.
Yeah, but
What is that? Don't say 40.
Not say 40.
Oh?
It means, you know, say less, you're good.
Okay.
You never know that one, the Sir Cliff?
No.
Yeah, go and learn, man. You see, I learn as you grow older.
You have to understand, say Cliff young old, you know.
Yes,
young
that
old.
is
Certain
true.
Things just seem so young,
Yes, man. He's the oldest, most viral person in this country.
Oh?
Wow.
When him reach on TikTok, man, mash up.
I hear you.
But you know, Side and Cliff, listening to these people make these pronouncements about what Jamaica must sign to and what Jamaica must demand in the world, I think it's a pipe dream.
Why?
Can we look to China or America, India, Europe, and these countries and demand anything from these countries?
Something is going to have to affect them for them to dial this back. I mean, let's talk about, and I guess that's what I was trying to get at, you know, Omalu. We can talk our one, small island developing states. And yes, it is unfair. We're getting the brunt of the consequences. But the reality is, we chat. All I'm going to do is send me aid and give you some money and say, all right, fix up, we'll help you with the consequences. But, you know, look at the Paris Accord, for example. We made so much progress on it. And then such country just decide we are pull out.
Yeah, we are pull out. We don't care about.
Look at the 1.5 target that they have. I believe it's 1.5. I might be wrong, but I believe it's 1.5. Right. Look at that target from Wapikil Phillip. Where is it now?
You see, these are the things that I'm talking about. If you are going to come and make a pronouncement to the Jamaican people to get their backings and support, because I expect when you're doing these things, you need the Jamaican people behind you. You must put things out there that is feasible, that is executable. Yeah? We have to understand that when we are talking about fossil fuel and these type of fuel, we cannot make energy decision here in Jamaica where it's going to affect our economy. We see what happens in Europe when they give up the Russian oil and what is happening to their economy, what is happening to the biggest industrial economy in Europe, which is Germany, how they are declining. So we have to understand when they are coming to talk to us, Cliff. I did want to ask them, what is the economic solution to giving up these fossil fuel burning at this
Well, this is where I'll interject, Omalu, if you'll allow me. I can talk? To be fair to them, it's a phase out that they're suggesting. And to be honest with you, there's a way it can be done. However, doing this phase out, as it relates to Little Jamaica, right, so there are other things you have to consider. And it would mean that the global trend would have to be leaning in that direction for us to benefit economically from doing it. So what we're doing now is we're talking about renewables, going towards the renewables, the wind, the solar, the hydro, which is good. But at the end of the day, as you're coming back to your point now, there are some economic realities. So what I'm saying is there's somewhat of a balance in that there are some things that we can do better as it relates to renewable energy. There are some things that we can do as it relates to fossil fuel. However, we're not going to get the full extent of what we would want, the objective of what we would want, because there are other, external circumstances, I'll call them.
Because we have to look at the extent of the transformation from these fuel that we are using right at this moment, going into the renewable energies, and do we have the space and the capacity? Are we growing enough to make these transitions?
Right.
So everything has to come with an economic decision and discussion when we are talking about these things. We can't just willy-nilly just talk about them as if the government must just make decisions today that will affect people's life tomorrow.
Yeah, but I do believe though that there are some we could do better with renewables in our energy sector here in Jamaica. We can do some more to help our renewables to get us closer to where we want to be. But at the end of the day, no matter what we do, no matter how we try with renewables, even if we go 100% clean energy, unless the hegemonic states, meaning the big country, the so-called first world countries, unless they do their part in lessening the harm that they're doing to the environment, we're still going to have the same circumstances and the same consequences.
I would leave with this. Greed, don't care.
I hear you.
That is facts, Omalo.
All right, Omalo, thank you. You know the numbers to call us, 63093-7124 or 618-6730. It is 20 minutes going up to 8 o'clock. We're going to take our next break and come back with more of your calls.
On Monday, November 10, tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. when LASCO, in partnership with the Jamaica Constabulary Force, proudly announces the Super 6 finalists for the 2025 Saluting Our Heroes Police of the Year Awards. Meet the Super 6, Jamaica's finest: Constable Monique Bartley, Corporal Stephen Smith, Corporal Rojen Holt, Detective Corporal Chadwick Williams, Constable Chantel Powell, and Detective Corporal Livy Evans. Finalists for the prestigious 2025 LASCO JCF Saluting Our Heroes Police of the Year Award. Tune into Cliff Hughes Online as we highlight and celebrate the outstanding service, leadership, and community impact of the Super 6. So tune into Cliff Hughes Online Monday, November 10 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Super 6 finalists for the 2025 Saluting Our Heroes Police of the Year Awards. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by LASCO Chin Foundation and the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
Minutes going up to 8 o'clock. Thank you so much for staying with us. We're still taking your calls. Good evening, Stefan.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Yeah, evening, guys.
Yes.
I just want to make 2 quick points here. Not going to be long. Mr. Hughes, I was listening to your program today when you were talking about the situation where when we usually have disasters, either our Prime Minister or the Minister of Finance would usually have to jump on a plane to go to Washington with their...
Or London or Paris.
Yes, right, with their hats in hand to beg so that we could get relief to our people. And you are making the point that in today's dispensation, that is not the case anymore. At least not right now. And I don't think a lot of people appreciate that, I don't think a lot of people appreciate that, where we are coming from and where we are now.
Yes.
You know,
you see, for those of us who lived through it, yes, we can appreciate it easily. For Saeed, no, he can't appreciate it readily. Yeah, he never lived through that period. Yeah, when the slightest little shock we got, we had to resort to our salesmen as prime ministers, or prime ministers were turned into salesmen to go beg.
Yeah, exactly.
And we had to delay and interrupt our development.
It wasn't
plans.
negotiate?
Yeah?
It wasn't to negotiate?
No. You went to really ask for help because we need the help and we didn't have it in the bank account. We never have a bank account. The bank account was in red.
Dry.
Yeah. That was the reality.
Mm-hmm.
I made a point, the June 86 floods, yeah? And there was also an unusual event in 79. And the prime ministers at the time had to jump on a plane to go try and get some money to get us over the hump. Yeah? And, it came home again this evening when we heard the prime minister. Yeah? The damage, $1 trillion in losses we're looking at, 67 billion US dollars. Yeah?
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah? Remember now, based on the catastrophe bond and the CRIF bond, we are about to get 40 billion Jamaican dollars. Yeah?
Okay.
That is a fraction of the losses we're looking at.
And $1 trillion is just about our national budget.
Exactly. The current annual budget is 1.2 trillion.
Right.
Yeah? So,
the next point quickly. I believe that some persons love to hear themselves talking. They have nothing to say or contribute, but they just want to be heard or they want to hear themselves talking. I'm speaking specifically about the JTA, especially the president.
Oh dear.
I don't know if you heard him recently, Cliff.
Yes, I did.
Saying that schools should not reopen right now because the teachers are under severe psychological issues, and if they think we should just give them a break and not rush to open school right now. Mm-hmm. That cannot make any sense. I can't see how that... Look here, we have persons who have been working since COVID in a Cliff. Persons in our medical staff have been working non-stop through a lot of emergencies.
Mm-hmm.
Pandemics. COVID is still fresh in our minds. There was Berry last year. I know we have Melissa. Essential workers have to be working. Do they need a break?
What Mr. Malav's statement baffles, because
I couldn't believe
the Ministry of Education has said
left it up to the administrators.
Yes, because the entire island of Jamaica was not hit severely by Melissa. The western end of the island, the conditions in the corporate area, conditions in St. Thomas, yes, conditions in St. Catherine are such that school could reopen next week.
Exactly.
Why not reopen those schools, while we wait to see that the emergency phase of the relief effort, is sorted out in the western parishes that were most severely impacted, to give those people time to come back up to speed, But certainly, why should you deny half of the country that can go back to school?
It makes no sense to me.
It makes no goddamn sense. And I tell you, the JTA has become a garrison. I call them the 63rd garrison. Yeah?
I leave you with this. You know what's the funniest thing?
The 64th garrison.
When they go back to the negotiating table, whether
rubbish
later this year or next year,
yes,
I bet you they're not going to remember that we had a catastrophic event. Just watch and see. They're not going to remember that.
But
they will still be asking for their pound of flesh.
But let us be clear here. The leadership of the JTA over the last 10, 15 years, some of the leaders have not been a credit to the organization. Yeah, they have not been a credit to the organization, including the present leadership, based on what we've heard from Malav. Yes? Mr. Malav seems to have another agenda, which is not education. Yeah? But let me say this. They're not in touch with the overwhelming majority of their membership, you know. They're not in touch. I don't think we should make the mistake of lumping what we have as JTA leadership as representing the rank and file membership of the teaching profession. They're not.
Those other teachers need to make their voices heard and stop letting a select few capture this organization that is vital to the growth of Jamaica.
Look at how many of them actually vote in the leadership elections for president of the JTA.
I don't remember. What was the percentage?
All right, you check it again.
But sir, can you use that though?
Yes, you can. It's an indication.
But we can say the same about the country then?
Not for a JTA, not for an association, as against a country.
But what's the distinguishing element there between, as opposed to it being an association as opposed to a country?
Because it's a professional association with no more than 24,000 members. Yes? Which is focused on a particular set of issues, education, and their professional standing, and the standing of education in the country. Yeah? It's a focused set of issues as against a national political election where you have a myriad of other issues to contend with. Yeah?
So you're expecting that because they're professionals and the issues are focused.
The voter turnout should be greater.
And it should be greater, I agree.
Yes.
But you're saying that is a reflection of their
They're not
confidence?
in touch. They're not in touch. Those who have put themselves up as leaders of the JTA. Yeah?
I'm not going against anything you're saying. I'm asking the questions.
You're free to do.
I'm asking the questions.
And I will say that my position in the JTA is well known now, no? For several years.
For several years.
They've long lost the credibility that they once enjoyed because of the poor leadership that they have had. Poor leadership, absolutely shameful leadership. Yeah.
All right, guys, have a good evening.
Take care, man. Take care. Yeah.
But let us talk more about it. You satisfied with the quality of leadership you see coming from the Jamaica Teachers Association? There was a time when the Jamaica Teachers Association,
Tell me about that time, yeah. Give me a leader, for example, who impressed you.
Saunders, Zach Henry, famous principal from St. Andrew Technical High School, Wesley Powell of Excelsior, yeah? Errol Miller, Professor Errol Miller.
What epoch are we talking?
You're talking
early 2000s?
No, you're talking about the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. Yes. When Faye Saunders spoke, as President or General Secretary of the JTA as she was, the country stood and listened. Because she was a national leader. It wasn't only about the very hardcore issues of salaries and emoluments. The JTA was almost like the conscience of the country when it comes to education, how public health intersects with education, how communities and the state of communities,
So they gave a lot of expert opinions on the state of education as
and
opposed
national
to
issues.
just salary and emoluments.
Exactly, national issues.
Okay, my next question to you is, around what time then would you say
I
they
would say
started
the
to
turn
fall
of
off?
the 21st century. The turn of the 21st century, definitely.
And you're sure this
When it
is
was-
not you hugging up the 80s and the 90s as the glory days?
No. It became very narrowly focused. Yeah? It became a trade union in the worst sense of a trade union, because trade unions play a very good leading role. Yeah? But the JTA leadership, first of all, I think the whole structure of the leadership, this president-elect, immediate past president, and 1 year,
It's not enough.
No.
So what did you suggest? A 2-year, 3-year term?
I would think so.
Because they need a continuity and
They
to
have
build that
continuity,
momentum.
but they have locked into that continuity setup that they have now. Yeah? That the president is almost constantly driven by only those narrow issues.
Because I mean, if I can recall, it's always you can usually tell the speech based on the time of year.
Exactly.
You don't have enough teachers. That's around August, and then around the start of the fiscal year, around the start of the budget, emoluments and salaries. And if there are 1 and 2 school issues, it's about monies for those schools or allocations.
And that's it.
But you're saying that the JTA used to be the conscience on education for the country.
And other national issues.
And
because
other national issues.
If you look at education in its broadest sense, education is about public health. It's about housing. It's about family. It's about access to technology. All of them, come back to education.
So
without families and the family structure that are working,
right,
you're going to see it in your educational outcomes.
So you're saying
the best
then
performing child
comes from a very
you can
stable
predict
home.
It, where you have stable homes, solid homes, where not a mother, father, or a nurturer, a caregiver, that is stable, consistent, is going to do better in school. You can virtually predict them. A public health system that is working well, you're going to see it in education in the classroom.
Okay.
Yeah?
So, how do they get back there?
Well, I don't know, I really don't know. With the likes of what you have as leadership, that dead.
You say it's dead, sir?
That dead.
No, but you can't. If they can play such a vital role when it comes to homes, for example, because again, our values are being eroded and all of that. If they can play such a crucial role, then we need them.
Yeah.
So the conversation needs to then be, how do we get them back to those days when they weren't so not really focused on what they were going in their pockets?
Probably you need a revolution, a rebellion from inside the JLP or another organization.
You mean the JTA?
What did I say?
The JLP.
No. From the JTA. You need a JTA. You need a rebellion from inside. Yeah?
Interesting.
Or another teachers' association.
Another teachers' association.
Yes, to take them on. As we had in the 1980s.
There was a different one?
The National Union of Democratic Teachers.
I first tell me what I wonder. So explain that. You never tell me what I wonder.
Yes, man. There was a National Union of Democratic Teachers that came out of the 70s. Which was led by John Horton. And there was another famous leader of the NUDT. I'm looking at her as well, but I can't remember the name so readily now. Yeah? People in the YouTube chat can probably remind me of her name. She became Joan French.
Okay.
Yes, Joan French was her name. John Horton. Yeah? And these people were radicals from the 70s, left-wingers, who saw JTA as a very conservative organization that wasn't, in tune with the left-wing thinking and posture at the time. And they set up the NUDT, and they survived for some time and then faded after that. So there has been the precedence of an alternative organization to the JTA.
Okay.
Yeah. National Union of Democratic Teachers, NUDT. Yeah? Yeah.
I learned something new today.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right, that's where we're going to leave it. We want to say thanks to our producer, Dana Davey, our technical operator, Mr. Andrew Boogs Anderson, the members of the news and production team led by our editor today, Cara Powell, and, of course, our callers, our contributors, our YouTubers. Thank you all so much. I'm Cliff.
I'm Saeed.
Reminding you, take care of your loved one and look out for your neighbor. Good night.
As we grow older, there are many challenges